Prologue, or Oticus So Scary? Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's light and explore the story behind it. AN1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. AN2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual pupil taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's Light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/10238196889. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. The following content is not based on the real world. Please think of it as a similar parallel world, except for the same cultural aspects. All others are different. At night, the cold moonlight shines on the ground. In a hidden corner, you can see a lot of vague figures. Everyone must act cautiously. The target is high IQ criminals. Don't give the other party any chance to escape. Understood. After everyone arrived at the designated location, one after another small cylinders were thrown in from under the gate and through the cracks in the windows. With a slight bang, the cylinders exploded, and choking smoke instantly filled the entire building. After calculating that the hypnotic gas had taken effect, the special forces wearing gas masks quickly kicked open the door and rushed in. Report, no target was found in the bedroom. Report, no target was found in the kitchen. Report, no target was found in the living room. Report, no secret passage was found in the room. Hearing the series of bad news coming from the headset, Chong Yuan, who was originally happy, immediately turned gloomy. Damn, why is this happening? Where are the intelligence officers? What are they doing? Why did no one report the disappearance of the target? Don't blame them. Huh, director, you? The hypnotic gas in the room had been dissipated. Hu Zhenyu walked to the bookshelf and took out a copy of The Interpretation of Dreams from the bookshelf. If I am not mistaken, they are hypnotized. On this bookshelf, on one side are various 2D character figures, and on the other side are filled with a series of books related to psychology such as Self and ID, and Fantasy as Reality. Hu Yu, on the side, couldn't help but widening her eyes upon hearing this. Wait, didn't the initial report say that the other party was just a high IQ otaku? Do you think an otaku can play with our Jing Bureau around? Hu Zhenyu sighed and shook his head. Even if he's an otaku, he's an extremely dangerous otaku. Chong Yuan nodded silently. Yeah, he is a serious otaku from those figurines on the bookshelf. However, there is also a lot of strange books there. Seeing the small photo frame on the table, all of the Jing Bureau's people nod their heads in grief and anger. They say that an otaku should usually a fat ugly ass person, but with such a handsome and bright face, you dare to call yourself otaku? Traitor, PPUI. Hu Yu was still confused, but he was in direct conflict with the victim, and he was the first batch of people to be summoned by our Jing Bureau. Didn't the person who made the record at that time notice anything unusual? Hu Zhenyu closed the book inside again. On one hand, he hides it really well in the description told by his teachers, classmates, friends, and family members were all surprisingly consistent. On the other hand, it's also because there are so many people who have a grudge against the victim's family, and compared to the others summoned at that time, he is indeed the least suspected. Seeing everyone's solemn expressions, Chong Yuan tried to cheer everyone up. Such a difficult opponent has not been exposed under the close investigation of our Jing Bureau's side. However, at least he has no way to escape now. All of the Jing Bureau's people showed a relaxed smile upon hearing this. That's right, no matter how tough the enemy is, as long as their identity is exposed, they will lose against. Did he really think that in modern society, he can still do whatever he wanted with his personal ability? However, Hu Zhenyu still showed an extremely serious expression. You were wrong. Our biggest trouble may have just begun. One of people on the side smiled and said, Director, you are still playing with us at this time. At this time, a voice suddenly came from Hu Zhenyu's headset. Director, it's not good. John-san was taken away. How is it possible? Hu Zhenyu's expression changed greatly, and then he quickly asked, then how is your situation now? The voice of the people on the phone sounded a little ashamed. We were stunned by the hypnotic gas, and when we woke up, John-san was already gone. However, there were no casualties on our side for the time being. Hearing that there were no casualties, Hu Zhenyu regained his composure. He can't go far if he takes someone with him, and he must have planned in advance so that no one would find out, so his hiding place should be abandoned schools or abandoned factories nearby. However, pay attention to one thing. After finding the target, you must not provoke the other party. Understood. Although the others around could not hear the call's content, they could guess a rough idea from Hu Zhenyu's words. At this moment, seeing the call has ended, everyone hurriedly asked, Director, what happened? Hu Zhenyu shook his head and said, You guys should know how the other party showed his traces, right? Chong Yuan rubbed his chin and said, He went to the hospital to see a doctor today. Originally, I think we were just doing a routine check on his medical records after the incident. But this investigation revealed that he was already in the advanced stage of cancer. It is possible for a person to do anything under the pressure of death, so we put the focus of the investigation back on him, and connected some small details that were neglected in the past. After speaking, Chong Yuan shook his head and said with a sigh, Lin Yushan cancer, a cancer so rare that it is named after him, no wonder he is so desperate. Hu Zhenyu looked at him and asked, Why do you think we only know about him today? Chong Yuan was taken aback, and suddenly reacted, hypnosis. He hypnotized those doctors, and make them input his disease as just a common disease into the system. He doesn't hide it now, because he has only one person to kill. Yes, John-san's entire family was killed, and now he is the only one left. On the side, Hu Yu was furious. He obviously can kill John-san in a simpler way, but he wants to be exposed. Isn't this a declaring war to our Jing Bureau? Everyone else also felt humiliated, but Hu Zhenyu said, I consulted to a lot of psychologists today. According to their analysis, the other party should be the kind of person who looks gentle and humble, but is extremely proud inside. Quote, the reason why he took the initiative to expose his flaws is probably not to declare the war on us, but Hu Zhenyu breathed deeply and continued, he wanted John-san to die in the most desperate situation. Chong Yuan was instinctively surprised, and subconsciously asked, You mean, he deliberately wanted John-san to see the hope of being rescued, and then when John-san's hope reached a peak, he suddenly fell from heaven to hell. But if he does this, he will definitely be arrested. Hu Yu's voice suddenly got stuck in her throat, because she thought of Lin Yushan's cancer. Now, you all should understand why I said the biggest trouble has just begun, right? Hu Zhenyu sighed. Madman, this guy is absolutely a lunatic. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. Such an enemy is really terrifying. In an abandoned factory. Let me go, let me go. I can give you money, a lot of money. A stylishly dressed young man was tied to an iron seat, struggling and shouting loudly. However, the young man on the other side turned a deaf ear, whistling lightly and pierced a syringe into John-san's arm under John-san's fearful gaze. What is this? John-san asked nervously. Oh, this is a potion that can make you more sensitive. Lin Yushan replied with a smile. More sensitive? This is a good thing. It can double the pleasure you get. Of course, the pain is also the same. Lin Yushan smiled and used a knife to cut a wound on John-san's arm. The wound was not deep, but John-san screamed like a pig, and his eyes popping out like a dehydrated salted fish. Huh? You already screamed like that? I haven't sprinkled the salt yet. Lin Yushan smiled and took out a bag of salt and chili powder. Devil, you perverted devil. John-san was so frightened that his snot bubbles floated out of his nose, and he kept moving his legs on the ground, trying to stay away from this demon. It's a pity that the chair that was fixed by pouring steel is not something his small body can shake. Aw, aren't you happy when you were racing? I can guarantee that this is definitely 10,000 times more exciting than racing. Lin Yushan has a devilish smile at the corner of his mouth. What are you going to do? John San's nose were full of snot, and he collapsed and shouted, I have already paid you the money, what else do you want? Quote. Lin Yushan looked surprised, that's really strange EIRD. Isn't it you who asked those thugs to take the money back afterwards? Quote. John San's expression froze. In fact, he didn't take the compensation money to heart. He did so just because he was unhappy with the experience of being summoned to the Jing Bureau. If he had known that he would be targeted by such a pervert, he would never let his subordinates teach him a lesson. No, he would never go racing. Although he regrets it in his heart, John San still insists and said viciously, just wait, my family will definitely kill you. They're already blown up. Huh? Seeing John San's bewildered face, Lin Yushan kindly explained again, they're all killed, and they died horribly. After finishing speaking, Lin Yushan took out his phone and showed him the photos. Looking at the scorched black meat pieces on the photo, John San became disgusted and threw up directly. Madman, you lunatic, John San screamed in fear, but more of it was regret. If he could do it all over again, he would never provoke such a lunatic. At this time, an alarm sounded. Oh, they're quite quick. Lin Yushan looked outside the factory. The Jing Bureau is here. John San was overjoyed. He has never looked forward to the arrival of Jing Bureau as much as he did today. Outside. Director, we have triggered the alarm device, accidentally, as you said, but can this really make the other party become careless? One of the people asked in doubts. We've already lost a game before, and now we're in a hurry to get there, so it's logical to act impatient. Hu Zhenyu muttered slightly. After saying that, Hu Zhenyu asked through the headset, how is it, do you have a suitable position for sniping? Soon, a voice came from the headset, it's difficult. The target is in a blind spot in the factory. The only place to aim happens to be in a straight line with the hostage. Quote. Sure enough, he is still not careless. Hu Zhenyu muttered to himself, then go to the third floor and show that our Jing Bureau is deliberately luring him. With that, other party will be vigilant about the flaws we deliberately left in at that time. We will make a breakthrough from the other directions. Chang Yuan on the side asked subconsciously, then what if the other party is standing on the fourth floor? Quote. Seeing the director staring at him, Chang Yuan laughed awkwardly and hurriedly asked, Director, what do you mean by the other direction? The corner of Hu Zhenyu's mouth twitched a few times and he then said, when he thought we were deliberately provoking him to reveal his flaws, we turned our target to John San instead. Oh tilde, Chang Yuan said in a long voice, and then said, understood. Quote. Taking a deep breath, Hu Zhenyu said with the loudspeaker in his hand, Lin Yushan, stop it, you have nowhere to run now. Quote. The same loud voice came from the factory, Director Hu, this kind of remark does not fit with your style. You should know that it is impossible for me to stop. I know you hate scum like John San, but what's the difference between you now and a scum like him? John San, who was looking forward to the outside help, was a little dumbfounded upon hearing this. Did he make a mistake? I'm a hostage, why would he call me a scum? As far as the law is concerned, killing is killing, even if the one killed is a scum. Of course, I will not hypocritically think that I am a good person when I do this kind of thing. This truth is, I understood when I took the first step. Quote. Everyone beside him frowned. The other party has a very clear understanding of what he is doing now. He doesn't believe what he is doing now is justice, and he doesn't have the idea of whitewashing his sins like ordinary criminals. The psychological defensive line of this kind of person is very difficult to break. No, I believe that your heart still yearns for the light. Otherwise, why are you drive the local people away before doing those bombings? Quote. You think too much. I did this just to make the game more pure in. At this time, Hu Zhenyu yelled through the loudspeaker, John San, bow your head. Quote. John San, whose name was called, was startled and instinctively lowered his head. Then, Lin Yushan's forehead was exposed to the sniper's sight. At this time, the sniper pulled the trigger without the slightest hesitation. Bang. Dragging the dazzling tail flame, the sniper bullet instantly shot into Lin Yushan's eyebrows. With a thud, the blood plum blossomed, and Lin Yushan's body fell to the ground powerless. Seeing this situation, all the people who were still waiting outside couldn't believe that the perverted murderer who played their Jing Bureau all over the place died like this. Even Hu Zhenyu's expression changed for a while, with an extremely unreal feeling. John San was stunned for a moment, but was soon overwhelmed by the flood of joy. Ha 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 ha, idiot, trash, loser, aren't you going to kill this young master? Aren't you dead in the end? Just wait, when I go back, I'll kill everyone who has anything to do with you. Hearing John San's crazy talk inside, Hu Zhenyu showed gloomy expression. Although that Lin Yushan is indeed scoundrel, this guy is indeed a scumbag. For what he has done, 10 times of shooting is still not enough. After returning, we will sort out his information, contact other victims to initiate a lawsuit. Hu Yu on the side nodded heavily and said, yes. Everyone showed a relieved smile. From the standpoint of their Jing Bureau, they must rescue the hostages, but from the standpoint of ordinary people, they are disgusted of even looking at that kind of scum. Then let's go in and save him now, Chang Yuan said while smiling maliciously. At this moment, the voice belonging to Lin Yushan rang again. Hello everyone, quote. Hearing this nightmarish voice, John San's wild laughter froze on his face, and then he screamed out in extreme fear, Ghost, there is a ghost. You devil, you will not let me go even after you become a ghost? Quote. As John San was still screaming, the voice rang again. When this voice sounds, it means that I really have died. John San, you should be very happy now, right? Isn't it a good feeling to return to the world from hell? Quote. Hearing the voice said that Lin Yushan was indeed dead, John San couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. But before he could relax completely, he heard the gentle voice suddenly turn cold. So, how would it feel to fall from the world to hell again? Actually, I have a bomb inside my body. Hearing this, Hu Zhenyu's face changed greatly. Everyone, withdraw immediately. Don't hesitate, I will bear the consequences. Quote. 3 minutes from when my heart stopped beating. At this time, many of the special forces had already entered the factory, ready to rescue the hostage. 3 minutes was enough for them to save him, but after hearing the director's firm order, they had to withdraw immediately. After all, they also didn't want to risk their lives to save a scum. When he heard there was a bomb on Lin Yushan's body, John San's body trembled, but now seeing these people throwing him away and withdrew, he became even more frightened. I'm still here, take me with you. Are you not Jing Bureau? How can you leave a hostage and escape by yourself? You losers, did you not listen to this young master? Quote. As John San was shouting furiously, Lin Yushan's voice continued. I accidentally said too much nonsense just now. I don't know what time it is now. It's better to count down from 5, 4, 3. Wait, why did you say it's 3 minutes just now? John San screamed like a pig again, struggling violently. 2, 1, goodbye. No. Along by a scream of despair and fear, explosion sound rang, the fire soared, and the surrounding ground trembled violently. The flame has swallowed all the evil. Ha, we almost died. Looking at the monstrous fire, all the people were afraid, but at the same time they couldn't help but look at Hu Zhenyu with grateful eyes. In order to let the other party die in despair and pain, he actually made his own death part of the plan. Chang Yuan looked at the flame with complicated eyes. This is definitely the most terrifying enemy I have ever encountered. Everyone nodded in agreement as they felt that this kind of person is really terrifying. Hu Yu looked towards Hu Zhenyu with some worry. Director, although what happened later proved that you were right, but after all, we are not trying to save the hostage. If those unscrupulous media or the public know about it, our Jing Bureau is also human. If it's to save people, then there really shouldn't be too much consideration. Hu Zhenyu said decisively. However, if it's just to save a scum, then I would never agree to exchange our people's lives for that kind of scum. As for those trashes who can only talk, come and find me face to face. Quote. Director, everyone looked at him with moved expression. Okay, inform the fire brigade. Looking at the sky-high flames, Hu Zhenyu sighed. It's a pity. Chapter 1 Shimizu Soseki. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's light and explore the story behind it. N1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. N2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual pupil taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/1023819689. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. Konoha year 41, early spring. The slightly cold morning breeze swirled in the early morning, fresh and soft, so that early risers could not help but take a deep breath of the fragrance of spring while shivering. There are not many pedestrians on the road, but each and every face is filled with the brilliance of hope. At the beginning of this new year, everyone is ready to welcome the arrival of a new life with great anticipation. It has been nearly a year since the end of Second Great Ninja War. Although the scars left by the war have not been completely healed, they have been deeply buried. After all, life is all about looking forward. I almost overslept. Kei Yugami sprinted at a small pace, feeling a little embarrassed thinking about what happened this morning. Unlike other chunin who are elderly aged in the academy, becoming a teacher is his long-cherished dream, and this directly leads to, he lost sleep last night due to excitement. When the alarm rang in the morning, he was supposed to jump out of the bed, but because he slept too late, he threw himself on the bed like a pig and fell asleep again. But fortunately, it's not too late. Looking at his watch that pointed at 7:20, Kei Yugami secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Today is just an admission report. There should be no new students coming this early. Quote. Walking to the gate of academy, he didn't see anyone near the check-in area. Seeing this situation, Yugami Kai's tense heart finally relaxed. Just like I said, how come? Just as Kei Yugami tidied up his clothes and was about to walk into the academy in the fullest state of mind, a small figure suddenly entered the corner of his eye, causing the smile on his face to froze. That was a little boy with a broom. Although he was not as tall as a broom, his sweeping movements were not rigid at all. Obviously, he was not the kind of person who would temporarily sweep in order to impress others. At this moment, Kei Yugami suddenly realized, after the holiday, the academy is so clean that he couldn't even see a single leaf. Cough cough, that student. Hearing Kei Yugami's voice, the little boy turned his head to look, and immediately ran over excitedly, Sensei. You didn't come here yesterday, right? Kei Yugami said with a smile when he glanced after looking at the clean and tidy academy. No, I have actually only been here for 2 hours. The little boy shook the shaking one's head vigorously. Oh, that's okay. What a joke. It's too shameful. Thinking that he can't even compare to a child, Kei Yugami screamed frantically in his heart, but his face showed a calm expression as he nodded and said, you did a great job. This seems to be a teacher with a lot of inner drama. Watching Kei Yugami's actions and demeanor, the little boy thought to himself. At this time, after Kei Yugami recovered from the embarrassing situation, he noticed another thing. For the entire academy to be cleaned in just 2 hours, it not only shows that this boy's efficiency is very high, but it also shows that his is very firm. Kei Yugami subconsciously substitutes this boy's position with himself. At such a young age, he can't even stand to spend 10 minutes on such a boring thing. Those who can withstand the temptation and is not moved by the other things are the real ninja. Yugami Kai nodded with satisfaction, although he did not know the talent of this little boy, but with this kind of self-control, he believed that the other party would definitely become an excellent ninja. At least, he'll better than me. Kei Yugami smiled and walked to the registration office on the side. Come here. Let's finish the registration early, so that you can take the admission documents home and rest early. Name. Soseki, Shimizu Soseki. Age. 5 years old. Parents. Soseki was silent for a moment, then said with a sad expression on his face, was killed in the war. Kei Yugami's right hand that was writing froze upon hearing this. Sorry, I don't know. Kei Yugami regrets in his heart. I am still too inexperienced. I shouldn't have asked that. This sensitive issue could have been skipped directly. Soseki lightly bit his lower lip and shook his head slightly. It's okay, sensei. It's been 2 years. I won't cry anymore. Did you lose your parents when you were only 3 years old? Kei Yugami was a little confused. Although the village would provide subsidies to the families of ninja who died in the war, it is very difficult for a 3-year-old child to live alone. No wonder he is so self-improving. Kei Yugami sighed secretly, and his gaze looking towards Soseki softened. After registering the information, Kei Yugami handed over the admission documents to Soseki and said, okay, you should go home early too. It's too deserted there, Soseki said with sad expression. Seeing this, Kei Yugami secretly thought, it's bad, I seem to have stepped on the landmine again. Fortunately, Soseki recovered quickly, clenched his 2 little hands, and looked towards Kei Yugami with hopeful eyes. Sensei, let me stay here and help. Kei Yugami subconsciously wants to refuse. Although he is just a newly recruited teacher, asking the students to help on the first day would make his seniors laugh. But seeing Soseki's sincere gaze, the rejection's words were stuck in his throat, and could not come out. It is because he is in loneliness that he looks forward to the liveliness of the academy. Consciously grasping the other party's thoughts, Kei Yugami couldn't refuse, then. Okay. That's great, Soseki exclaimed excitedly. Seeing that Soseki, who has always been mature enough to surpass his peers, finally showed the expression like his age, Kei Yugami also smiled with relief. Maturity is a good thing, but it comes at a price. Single quote. Sensei, is there anything I can do to help? After getting excited, Soseki asked Kei Yugami with bright eyes. Kei Yugami rubbed his chin in confusion. It was just a report. Is there anything that Soseki can help with? I can't throw all the registration work to him. Single quote. That's it. Kei Yugami's eyes lit up. He then snapped his fingers and said, how about this? I'll show you around the academy first, and wait for other students to sign up, and then you will take them to familiarize themselves with the classroom, training grounds, and cafeterias. Although he is a new teacher, he also came out of this academy 10 years ago. In addition, he came back a few days ago and walked around. So he still knew the important locations in the academy. Soseki nodded in response. The academy is actually not that big, especially when compared to another world in Soseki's memories. In 10 minutes, Soseki followed Kei Yugami and walked around the entire academy. When they returned to the registration office, they were still the only 2 in academy. Maybe it was because the 2 of them were a little embarrassed to just stand there stupidly. During this period of time, Kei Yugami explained a lot of ninjas' interesting facts and little knowledge to Soseki. Finally, when the time pointed at 8:20, another new student arrived. What appeared in the sight of the 2 was a little girl with blood-red eyes. La 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 Latilda, the red-eyed girl hummed a song and walked briskly. Seeing Kei Yugami, her eyes lit up. She walked quickly to the registration office and asked, are you a teacher? Well, my name is Kei Yugami. You can also call me Yugami-sensei. Kei Yugami tried his best to show a kind and majestic smile. Little girl, what's your name? However, in Soseki and the little girl's views, his smile was rather comical. This teacher doesn't seem to be very smart. Although she thought like that, she still seriously replied, Yuhi Kurenai. Is she really that Yuhi Kurenai? Soseki's remained calm, but he was secretly collecting information from the other party. Soon, Kei Yugami registered Kurenai's information. Soseki, take Yuhi Kurenai to get familiar with the academy. Yes. The 2 walked out side by side. On the way, Kurenai tilted her head and looked at Soseki next to her and asked, Soseki-senpai, are you someone that Yugami-sensei specifically asked for help? In fact, she had long been curious about Soseki, who was standing next to Kei Yagami, but her good upbringing prevented her from asking abrupt questions. Soseki stopped in his tracks, turned his head in embarrassment, and said, Kurenai, in fact, just like you, I am also a freshman who just entered the academy today. Huh? I'm sorry. Kurenai was embarrassed by this, and sincerely apologized. After all, Soseki never said that he was a senior, so it was her own fault for thinking like that. It doesn't matter. After all, I didn't take the initiative to introduce myself. Soseki smiled brightly. Then let's get to know each other again. I'm Shimizu Soseki. Please take care of me in the future. Hearing this, Kurenai nodded excitedly and said, My name is Yuhi Kurenai. Let's work hard together in the future. As she said that, Kurenai asked with some doubts, You are also a freshman, but why did Yagami-sensei let you take me to get familiar with the academy? If it weren't for Kei Yagami's arrangement, she wouldn't have thought that Soseki is a senior. Soseki smiled a little embarrassedly and said, I took the initiative to help Yagami-sensei. Everyone will be classmates in the future, so I want to do something for everyone to the best of my ability. Red didn't think much, just clapped her little hands and praised, You were really nice. Then, she was a little embarrassed. If it's me, I wouldn't have the patience to help everyone. Compared with you, I'm really bad. Soseki said with a faint smile, Kurenai, you don't need to compare yourself to me. Everyone is unique. Doubting yourself and denying yourself will only make you very unhappy, so you must be happy and be yourself. Only in this way can we find the place that belongs to us. Kurenai's red eyes lit up. Soseki speaks so nicely. In addition to Kurenai, Soseki has also led many celebrities, such as Ibiki, who always looked serious, Shizune, who is holding a little ninja pig, Mizuki, who showed a gloomy face, and a bad boy who almost missed the registration, Asuma. Even those other classmates who were not even a passerby in the original plot, Soseki still responded with great enthusiasm. This also made all students remember the name on the first day, Shimizu Soseki. Chapter 2 I'm the Man Who Wants to Be the Hokage. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's Light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's Light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's Light and explore the story behind it. N1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. N2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual pupil taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's Light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/10238196889. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. The next day, early in the morning. Kurenai, be careful on the road. By the way, did you bring your lunchbox? Remember to go home early after school. Okay, I know. After bidding farewell to her old father, she bounced out of the house. I can finally start my ninja career, although I'm still just a ninja in training. Thinking of the new good friend she met yesterday, Kurenai's heart was full of expectations for a better school life. Before long, she arrived at the school and found her classroom. Although she was already up early, when she walked into the classroom, there were already 6 or 7 people in the classroom. And surrounded by these people in the center is none other than her new good friend, Shimizu Soseki. Shimizu, in front of strangers, Kurenai finally restrained her inner joy and greeted relatively reserved. Kurenai, Soseki stood up from his seat, responded happily, and then introduced to both parties, This is Amami Amaki, this is Morino Ibiki, this is... Hello, it's the first time we meet, please take care of me. Please take care of me. Everyone greeted a little unfamiliarly, and it was only when Soseki led the topic that everyone's tone became warm. It's because Soseki has acted as a link for everyone. Kurenai understood in her heart, and her eyes gleamed a little when she looked at Soseki. Under Soseki's deliberate lead, everyone quickly found a common topic, and gradually, everyone's relationship gradually became closer. The new students who entered the classroom later either rushed directly to their good friend Soseki, or were driven by the herd mentality, and slowly joined this small group. This also caused all the freshmen, except for a few who were withdrawn or who were dismissive of it, to unite with Soseki when the bell rang for class. The majority of the students are all ignorant about this, they just simply feel that it is fun and lively, and the fear of the unfamiliar environment in their hearts has disappeared at this moment. But there are also a small group of sober-minded newcomers who are aware of the amazing cohesion created by Soseki. When Kei Yagami walked into the classroom with excitement, he unexpectedly found that the messy scene that his seniors said did not appear. Almost all freshmen sat in their seats obediently, and shouted loudly when he stepped onto the podium. Good morning, sensei. Although the voices are disorganized and mixed with a lot of laughter, and sounded like they are treating this as a game, but Yagami was still moved to tears. What good children. Yagami sighed emotionally in his heart, but at the same time he could not help but silently cursed. Those senpai are really too much. How can such a cute student be called a demon? Are your consciences not hurt for saying that? Good morning, students. Yagami glanced across everyone, opened his mouth and said in a gentle tone, I am your basic teaching teacher, Kei Yagami. You can also call me Yagami-sensei. I also came out from this academy. I understand everyone's desires and worries very much. Therefore, I will try my best to help everyone in the days to come. At the same time, please don't have any fear, and just think of me as your senior. Next, let's all give a self-introduction. Yagami didn't do anything special, but looked at the freshman sitting first in the first row and said, Kimura, let's start with you. Yes, the student, who was called, was obviously a little nervous. Because he went to the wrong classroom before, when he found the right classroom, only the front row was left. My name is Shinichi Kimura, nice to meet you all. After saying that, Kimura sat down immediately, and Yagami said with an awkward smile that, well, a concise and clear introduction. However, we still have a lot of time. The later students can introduce more of their own situation, such as hobbies, dream, etc. The freshman sitting in the second place is much calmer, and without waiting for Yagami to call his name, he stood up abruptly and said, I'm Takiya Ryosuke. My hobby is fighting. I want to dominate the academy and then become the Hokage. Yagami chuckled twice and said, it is a very powerful speech. Then the next one. I am Serizawa Hayato. I have no hobbies, and my dream is to become a Hokage. Hey you, I'm the first one who said that is that I will become the Hokage. Are you still a 4-year-old? Becoming the Hokage isn't about who said it first. You all stop fighting. The person who will become the Hokage is me, Shenue Takuma. Fools, do you guys want to fight? Come on, do you think I'm afraid? Seeing that many students were about to fight in the classroom, Yagami was sweating profusely. Why did the situation suddenly change into the direction that the senior said? Single quote. Wait, everyone calm down. Unfortunately, not only did no one listen to his dissuasion, there were even many students fanning the flames. Fight, fight, fight. At this moment, Soseki, who had been observing secretly, suddenly stood up and said, Ryosuke, Hayato, Takuma, can you listen to a few words of mine? Huh? Soseki, you can say it. Takiya Ryosuke scratched his head. HMPH, I'm just giving Soseki some respect, Serizawa Hayato said arrogantly, folding his arms. Huh? Does Soseki also want to become the Hokage? Shenue Takuma was confused. Not only the three of them, but the students who were fanning the flames suddenly died down. This change gave Yagami an inexplicable illusion of who was the real teacher is. Soseki asked softly, can you tell me why you want to be Hokage? Of course, it's because Hokage is a title that can only be held by the strongest ninja in the village. I want everyone in the village to recognize me. I didn't think about it that much. I just thought that if I became Hokage, my parents wouldn't dare to hit me. Everyone has a subtle expression on their face. Forget about the first two. Is this the third reason serious? My thoughts may not be the same as yours. In my opinion, Soseki didn't show any strangeness, but glanced at the three of them with sincere eyes. You don't become the Hokage to be acknowledged by everyone. The one who is acknowledged by everyone becomes the Hokage. For the new students who have not yet understood the concept of life, this sentence is not really amazing, but it also gives them a very powerful and reasonable feeling. On the contrary, it was Yagami who became a little dazed after hearing Soseki's words, the one who is acknowledged by everyone. The inexplicably excited expressions of everyone. Soseki hit the iron while it was hot. No matter how strong a person is, he is only one person. Bearing everything on alone will inevitably lead to failure. I think you have also heard the story of Shodem-sama and Uchiha Madara. One reason why Shodem-sama can become Hokage is precisely because he got the support of the village and his other companions. If you can't even get the approval of your classmates, how can you get the approval of other people in the village? In a sense, this is the same as those elementary school essays of Soseki's previous life. If you don't cite examples of some famous people, even if your writing is amazing, it will not be very convincing. After all, little kids don't like to hear too many big things. When those three heard the first paragraph, they were still ignorant, but after Soseki used Shodem as an example, their minds soon changed. I'm sorry, I will let you be the Hokage. Forget it, you should become the Hokage first, I will be behind you. I don't necessarily have to be Hokage. As long as you both told my parents stop hitting me after you become Hokage, it is enough. Seeing this situation, Yagami was sighed in relief and at the same time couldn't help but amused. What did they think of Hokage? Also, Soseki. Yagami's gaze rested on the gentle boy. This child has ideas and visions that surpass ordinary people. Maybe, he is the one who really has the potential to become the Hokage. Chapter 3 The Ultimate Secret Art. Backstabbing Each Other. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's Light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's Light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality? Or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's Light and explore the story behind it. N1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. N2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual pupil taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's Light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/1023819689. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. My name is Mio Sakurai. I like small animals, sucking, and my dream is to become a gourmet. I am Shigeki Ezuki. My hobby is. The self-introduction is finally back on track. Yagami thought then saw a serious face boy in the back row stand up and say, my name is Morino Ibiki. My hobby is interrogation, and my dream is to torture the other village's cage one day. The corners of Yagami's mouth twitched slightly upon hearing this. Are all kids nowadays thinking so dangerously? Finally, it was Soseki's turn to speak. He was originally the focus of the crowd, and after the previous events, even his every move was being watched. His eyes are focused, but Soseki seems to feel the slightest bit of pressure, and he didn't seem to be impatient at all. He then said softly, I am Shimizu Soseki and my hobby is to make many, many friends. As for my dream, I want to become a medical ninja and use my medical ninjutsu to erase the pain for our world. Many people are surprised, not at how shocking Soseki's self-introduction is. On the contrary, his speech was too ordinary. Actually, it is so ordinary people can't understand. In the system of each great ninja villages, the medical nin is usually women. The reason for that is not only because women pay more attention to details, but also because the 3 laws of medical nin stipulate that no medical nin shall ever stand on the front lines. And a man with even a little bit of shame will not allow himself to hide in the back. If it were someone else who said it, he might be misunderstood, that he is just a coward, but Soseki was different. When you have a good impression of a person, your heart will subconsciously beautify the other person. Under this filter, everyone not only does not think that Soseki is a coward, but secretly sigh in their hearts, Soseki is a really gentle person. Keep your feet on the ground. Only with this kind of temperament can one go further on the road of ninja. Yagami is now more and more satisfied as he looked at Soseki. He doesn't actually dislike those who are clamoring to become the Hokage. Who didn't have a big dream when they were young? Only when they grow up will they gradually understand the gap between fantasy and reality. It is precisely because of this that the invaluableness of those excellent and humble people can be highlighted. After Soseki, the others continued to introduce themselves. At the last few positions, everyone's gaze once again focused on someone. It is not surprising for this person to get this kind of attention, because he is the son of the current Hokage, Sarutobi Asuma. Seeing everyone's gaze, Asuma didn't hesitate at all, didn't stand up, just folded his arms coolly, leaned back on the chair. I'm Sarutobi Asuma. I have a lot of hobbies, and my goal is to be beyond Hokage. He didn't say dream, but bluntly said goal. From this, his arrogance was evident. Unfortunately, the response was mediocre. The most important thing children don't lack is fantasy. They don't think that Asuma can't achieve his goal, but simply think, oh, so his goal is just like that. Seeing everyone's gaze look at the next person, Asuma's body froze. Hey, can you all at least give some reaction? What's even more embarrassing is that everyone is looking at the person behind him. If he puts his hands down, he would look timid, but if he continued to hold it, he feels that everyone else is watching him while laughing. It's super uncomfortable. Fortunately, there were not a few people behind him. When they finished their introductions, everyone's gaze returned to the podium, and Asuma quickly put down his stiff arms. Looking at Soseki's back, he couldn't understand why the other party's dream to become a medical nin caused such a commotion, and his shocking speech to surpass Hokage did not get everyone's attention. Is this the world of grown-ups? That's right, everyone is 5 years old grown-ups now, and no longer as simple as before. Asuma was feeling a little melancholy for a while. Cough cough. Yagami coughed slightly, getting everyone's attention back. Since everyone has a basic understanding of each other, then we are now going to the last thing to do for today, electing the class leader. Seeing some students showed puzzled expressions, Yagami explained, a qualified group must have its own leader. Just as a country needs a daimyo and a ninja village needs a cage, so our class should also have its own class leader. As soon as the voice fell, the class became active in an instant. Yagami-sensei, can this class leader have a title of his own? For example, Kumikage, Kumi, Gumi means class. Sensei, will this class leader get extra points for the graduation exam? Yagami-sensei, will being a class leader prevents my parents from hitting me? Yagami looked at the little fat boy Shenyue a little speechless. How much did your parents hate you? Taking a deep breath, Yagami said in a deep voice, class leader is not an official position, so it can't have a title, won't get extra points, and can't let your parents not hit you. Well, in fact, the last one may be possible. In short, the original intention of being a class leader is to serve everyone, not to let you do some messy things. Hearing Yagami's words, everyone's excited emotion suddenly disappeared at once. HMPH, it's boring. I can't even take care of myself, so I shouldn't serve everyone. See this situation, Yagami was a little embarrassed for a while. Did I go too far? Before he could say anything to make amends, Soseki raised his right hand. Yagami's eyes lit up upon seeing this. Soseki, what is it? Yagami-sensei, I want to participate in this class leader's election. The eyes of everyone in the class focused on him once again. Huh? Soseki wanted to do that. Although I don't want to be the class leader, I don't like being managed by others, but if it's Soseki, it doesn't seem unacceptable. Well, I also support Soseki. In the back corner, Asuma pouted his lips awkwardly. In the ninja world, strength is everything. It's stupid to spend time helping others. However, before he could finish his words, he was depressed to find that the girl he had been paying attention to showed an expression of admiration to Soseki. Wow, as expected of Soseki, Kurenai, who sits on the right side of Soseki, looked at Soseki with starlight in her eyes. Since Soseki sit in the middle of the classroom, the people who were attracted to him were sitting around him. Therefore, most of those who did not want to join his small group mostly sat in the corners. Hearing Asuma's low beep, Mizuki, who was sitting in front of him, nodded subconsciously. That's right. He knows that it is a thankless job, but he still does it. This kind of person is either stupid, bad, or hypocritical. Like Soseki, he is a victim of Second Ninja Great War, and orphans like them were desperate to be recognized by others. Therefore, seeing Soseki easily got what he dreamed of, a feeling called jealousy kept growing in his young heart. But he also knew that this kind of thing was not good, so he just buried his emotions in his heart. At this moment, seeing Asuma, the son of the Hokage, is like himself, he couldn't help but open his heart, hoping to stand on the same side with Asuma, the son of Hokage who is high above. I, Sarutobi Asuma, also want to run for the class leader. I think he did this just to impress. Immediately, their meeting eyes froze. The ultimate secret art, backstabbing each other. Mizuki was at a loss. He finally opened his heart. Why did this noble son of Hokage betray the revolution so quickly? Asuma is also on alert. Bastard, this guy actually saw that I just wanted to impress that red-eyed girl. 5 Chapter 4 Inoxant Chunibyo. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's light. Because of the awkward mentality of a little boy, Asuma didn't want others to know that he was paying attention to the red-eyed girl. So, before Mizuki can finish speaking, he gave Mizuki a vague look. Mizuki naturally did not dare to collide with the second generation of the most powerful in the village, so he hurriedly lowered his head, and his eyes are full of resentment. At this time, Yagami said, Asuma, do you also want to run for the class leader? That's right. Asuma raised his head proudly. What? Am I not qualified? Of course not. As long as you are a member of this class, everyone is eligible to run for the class leader. Yagami of course could see that the reason for Asuma's choice is more about playing around. However, what he was worried about was not that Soseki would fail. He sees clearly that Asuma is too far behind Soseki in terms of popularity. What he is really worried about is that Asuma will do something to Soseki after losing the election. Although he believes that the Sandaime Hokage would not care about such trivial matters, as the son of Hokage, as long as Asuma is willing, it is easy to find someone in the senior years who is willing to teach Soseki a lesson for him. As a member of the academy, he is very aware of the existence of such vicious incidents like bullying. What is even more terrifying is that under such hidden rules, the teacher's intervention will only make things worse. We can only expand the scope so that he won't lose so badly. Yagami thought, and then looked at the others with encouraging eyes, and hinted frantically, do anyone else want to run for the class leader? It's okay, even if you lose, it's okay. It's a pity that among these students, there is no one like Soseki who understood Yagami. His words even made many of them look around in indignation. Whoever dares to fight with Soseki is going to have trouble with me, Takiya Ryosuke. That's right, except for Soseki, I will not accept anyone. Let's show that arrogant guy that we civilian ninja are not easy to bully. Seeing this situation, Yagami can only say dryly, then, well, everyone can write the names of the person they support on the paper, and hand them over after writing, no need to write down your own names. Listening to the sound of writing from the students, Yagami secretly sighed, alas, I can only hope that Asuma's identity as the Hokage's son can prevent him from losing too bad. Soon, everyone finished writing the note and sent it to the podium. Yagami counted the voting data, his expression became very excited, and after rubbing his cheeks with both hands, he said, cough cough, I now announce. Suddenly, Asuma loudly shouted, wait sensei, you haven't said the exact number of votes yet. Yagami forced a smile and said, the exact number of votes doesn't need to be announced, right? How can it be like that? Of course it does. Voting must be fair and open. But, sensei, if you don't want to announce it, then I'll do it myself. Hearing this, Yagami helplessly said, since insist on this, then, well. Asuma jumped up from his seat and when he passed by Soseki, he also glanced at him demonstratively. After taking the vote with just one glance, he was beaming with joy, 1 vote for Sarutobi Asuma. Asuma spoke loudly, and looked at Soseki proudly out of the corner of his eye. It's a pity that the corner of Soseki's mouth was smiling, and he didn't seem to care, making him feel like he was punching cotton. HMPH, Asuma snorted in dissatisfaction, and then continued to look at the pile of papers, 1 vote for Shimizu Soseki, 2 votes for Shimizu Soseki, Shimizu Soseki. Every time he took out one paper, Asuma's face became more and more ugly. After counting the last one, Asuma said in a hoarse voice, Sarutobi Asuma has 1 vote, and Shimizu Soseki has 69 votes. Shimizu Soseki wins. The last sentence seems to drain all his strength. He lowered his head, only to feel that every gaze looking at him was full of ridicule and malice. In truth, no one is laughing at him. People only care about the winner. For those who lose, even mocking them feels like a waste of energy. Great, I knew that Soseki would definitely win. It's a pity, I don't know which traitor voted for that guy. At this moment, Asuma suddenly realized something. No, that vote seems. It's my own vote. Thinking of this, Asuma was so ashamed that he wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl in. He was so excited that he didn't even recognize his own handwriting. That's great, Soseki, I know you can do it. Kurenai leaned over and congratulated Soseki with a blushing face. Well, thank you for your trust in me. Soseki politely responded to everyone's congratulations. The honors and applauses are his. I have nothing. Seeing this, Asuma felt even more sour and couldn't help but shouted with red eyes, Shimizu Soseki, this time I lost. But now, I want to challenge you once again. Let's use the ninja style to decide the winner. Hearing this, Yagami frowned. Asuma, you should have learned how to refine chakra, right? You are already half ninja, don't you think it's too much to bully Soseki who is still an ordinary person? Hearing this, Asuma asked dumbfounded, huh? He doesn't have chakra yet? 5 to 15 years old. This period is the fastest growing human body and the best age to practice ninjutsu. Because of this, the academy started at the age of 5 to teach academy-aged children how to refine chakra. However, just as there are no two identical leaves in the world, there are real differences between people. For those with good physical fitness, the time to refine chakra can be appropriately advanced. Moreover, it is impossible for each student to enter the academy at the age of 5. Therefore, refining chakra in advance is generally done by the children from the big ninja clans, and this advantage is an unspoken rule that almost everyone know. Yagami nodded and said, Soseki is different from you. He didn't have someone special to teach him. It seems, he is the one who has nothing. Asuma thought in his heart, and after a while, he apologized in an audible voice, I'm sorry, I don't know you don't know ninjutsu yet. Everyone looked at this scene in surprise. This stinky guy didn't seem to be so annoying anymore. Single quote. Yagami also breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing this. Sure enough, the son of Hokage-sama could not be that kind of unreasonable person. HMPH, but don't expect this to be the end of it. When you learn ninjutsu, I will challenge you again. Asuma looked at Soseki with firm eyes and continued, I just want to prove that only the weak like you hug together to keep warm like that. From the very beginning, Soseki does not have the same worry as Yagami. Whether it was the portrayal in the original plot or his own observations, he is very sure that Asuma is not the kind of arrogant and overbearing second generation. At best, he can only be regarded as a rebellious brat that wants to attract the attention of his father and some people. To deal with this kind of chunibyo kid, sometimes, it is better to be more chunibyo than them. Asuma, the real expert, does not need to prove anything. Upon hearing this, Asuma's body trembled slightly. He calmed down, and re-savored what Soseki said before as he seems to smell the aura of his kind. Then can you tell me who can be considered a real expert? Of course, someone who can practice his nindo and be firm for it. Asuma subconscious wanted to nod, but thinking of his current position, he forcibly restrained the desire to nod his head. So, I will accept your challenge. Huh? What did you say? Didn't I already say it before? Only people recognized by everyone can become Hokage, Soseki said in a solemn voice, and this is my nindo. Many people are still confused, but Asuma has understood instantly. So that's how it is. Did you accept my challenge because you wanted my approval? Expert, you are the real expert. Everyone looked at a loss when they saw this. Why did when Soseki say such words? We are touched, but when Asuma said something like that, we felt an inexplicable sense of shame. It must be because the speaker is different. Asuma didn't care about everyone's strange gaze at all. He is already getting better. Fighting against an expert like you is what I have always pursued. You can tell me the time of your choosing. If Asuma is an explicit chunibyo, then Soseki is a recessive chunibyo. After all, he still has to take care of his own reputation. As long as he speaks ambiguous words to make Asuma interpret as chunibyo's world, it won't be long before they become best friends. Then half a month, whether I win or lose, I will do my best. Just half a month? Then I won't take advantage of you. I will tell you that my chakra refining method to help you master chakra as soon as possible. Hey, wait, Yagami hurriedly shouted. If you leak out the chakra refining method of the Sarutobi clan, Soseki will be held accountable. Who told you that it was Sarutobi clan's chakra refining method? Asuma squinted his eyes and said coolly, don't forget, that person is called the professor. Oh, it turned out to be developed by Hokage-sama. Yagami was stunned, and then the corners of his eyes jumped wildly. Why would he call his own father that person? I always feel that this son of Hokage-sama is not normal. Chapter 5 Ordinary Geniuses. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's light and explore the story behind it. N1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. N2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual pupil taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/1023819689. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common-translation. There are advanced chapters there. In the small forest behind the academy, the afterglow of the setting sun gradually disappears on the horizon. Asuma is like a stone statue that has lost its soul, standing in the forest and muttering to himself, impossible, impossible. On the side, moved the silk thread on his fingertips and asked, Asuma, is this chakra? Asuma came back to his senses and looked at Soseki with a complicated look. How can you learn refining chakra so quickly? Could it be that I am in shinobi? Could it be that I can't match him in terms of ninja talent? It takes about half a month to a month for a medium talented person to learn refining chakra, while a genius can do it in just 3 days. This is what the Tokubetsu Jonin tutor said to him when he was able to do it in 3 days. He didn't think that it would take half a month for Soseki to learn to refine chakra. As an expert recognized by him, it was very reasonable for Soseki to learn to refine chakra within 5 days. However, it's been less than 10 minutes since I taught him. If I'm a genius, then what is he? Asuma stared at Soseki like looking at a monster, and finally couldn't help but ask. You, who are you? How did you succeed doing that in one go? Soseki shook his head slightly and said, actually, this is not the first time I have refined chakra. Asuma was perplexed. Huh? Didn't you say no one taught you how to refine chakra? Maybe you don't know yet, Asuma, but I actually have been working as a nurse for patients in the hospital. Although I don't have chakra myself, I have actually seen many scenes of elder sister nurses refining chakra. Soseki explained with a smile, and today, didn't Yagami-sensei talk a lot about the chakras theory? Huh? He did? Asuma asked in a daze. He didn't get distracted or sleep in class, but he had learned this knowledge in advance, and he has never paid attention to theory. In his opinion, it is better to practice the speed of forming hand seals. Soseki is not surprised by Asuma's reaction. In the academy, theoretical knowledge has never been valued, and what teachers valued more was the student's practical operation and on-the-spot adaptability. Therefore, when conducting some theoretical exams, the academy not only does not oppose cheating, but even encourages students to cheat, as long as the means of cheating are not too obvious. Of course there is, Soseki said in a gentle, unhurried tone. I also learned a complete theoretical knowledge today. Before today, I already have some understandings of chakra, so I managed to figure out what refining chakra is and how to do it today. It's a pity that the refining chakra method I imagined is too rough, so I did not succeed in doing that until now. Oh, so it's like that. With Soseki's explanation, Asuma feels that it was much easier to accept. But what he didn't know was that it is actually far more terrifying for Soseki to reverse the refining chakra method just by looking at other people's refining chakra and understanding the theory of chakra than being able to refine chakra in one go. After saying that, Asuma is full of energy again, as expected of my destined enemy. But I want to remind you that chakra is only the foundation, and ninjutsu is the root of ninja. Those mediocre ninja may take a few years in order to learn the most basic free bodies technique, but for talented geniuses like us, it won't take that much time. Soseki nodded in agreement. Yeah, this world has never been fair. Seeing that Soseki agreed with his view, Asuma was even more delighted. For the first time, the feeling of a close friend rose in his heart. Let's go, I'll treat you to eat at Ichiraku Ramen. Ichiraku Ramen is already opened at this time as Kakashi and Obito also ate in here in their childhood. I should be the one who treat you. If it wasn't for your help, I would be very troubled today. But is the relief fund given by the village enough? Asuma hesitated, as he also knew that Soseki's living condition is not very good. Have you forgotten? I'm still helping out in the hospital. Soseki smiled warmly. At least, it's okay to treat a friend to have a meal at Ichiraku Ramen. Friend, is this a friend? Asuma whispered to himself, only feeling sore in his nose, and then quickly changed the subject. By the way, I think your skills in manipulating chakra threads just now seem to be quite good. How did you do it? Well, it's mainly to test the ability to coordinate and control the body and mind. If you want to learn, I suggest you start with ordinary sutures. By the way, you can find a lot of unpeeled animal skins in the market. Seeing Soseki speaking such a terrible thing in a very gentle tone, Asuma couldn't help but laugh dryly. Ha. Ha ha, forget it. I don't plan to be a puppet master or a medical nin. Sandane Hokage's home. Today should be Asuma's first day of school, right? Seeing Asuma hadn't returned home even after so late, Sandane rubbed his brows and sighed. It's only the first day but he's already like this. Hokage-sama, you may have really misunderstood Asuma-sama this time. The ninja standing beside him replied respectfully. Oh, Sandane looked towards the side with some surprise. He knew that although Okawa Takeuchi was a bit sleek, he would never dare to lie to him about this kind of thing. Can you tell me what is going on? According to the information I got, Asuma-sama performance in the academy today is very impressive. He was the only person in the class who hoped to serve everyone and ran for the class leader. Although he failed to become the class leader, Asuma-sama eventually became cherished friends with the other party. Okawa Takeuchi briefly explained the process in between. Asuma young master did not go home today because he wanted to help his friends master the refining chakra method as soon as possible. Oh, Asuma lost. Sandame's eyes lit up. Although his son's character is a bit rebellious, his talent was indeed good. In addition, he had the bonus of being the son of Hokage, so Sandame never expected Asuma would lose the election. But as he heard the next sentence, he felt that something is wrong. Friends, help. The corners of Sandame's mouth twitched slightly. Your statement made me even more confused. Can you tell me the details of the incident? Okawa Takeuchi took out a document with embarrassment and handed it to Sandame. Looking at the records on the document, the corners of Sandame's eyes jumped wildly as Asuma's performance is indeed very eye-catching. Well, it almost blinded his old eyes. But soon, his attention was drawn to another person mentioned in the document. Son of the civilian ninja who died in the war. It's really amazing for him to have such a positive and sunny mentality even after all that. Sandame sighed slightly, and at this moment, his eyes were suddenly firmly attracted by the sentence on the document, and he couldn't take his eyes away from it. You don't become the Hokage to be acknowledged by everyone. The one who is acknowledged by everyone becomes the Hokage. This kind of belief, Sandame was really moved this time. He couldn't imagine that this kind of speech came out from the mouth of a 5-year-old child. I saw the brilliance of will of fire in him. It is precisely because of the younger generation like him that everything we do is meaningful, and heroic will sacrificed in the war can continue to be passed on. After pondering for a moment, Sandame said again, remember to remind me of the match in half a month. Okawa Takeuchi was surprised and said, Hokage-sama, do you want to go in person? Sandame smiled and said, don't think too much, I'm just, as a father, I care about my son's performance. Upon hearing this, Okawa Takeuchi's expression suddenly changed, so it's like that. I understand. Chapter 6 Development Path. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's Light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's Light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's Light and explore the story behind it. N1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. N2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual pupil taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's Light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/10238196889. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. At night, in a somewhat dilapidated woodhouse outside the 5th ring of Konoha. The light from the kerosene lamp filled the room. Soseki sits at the table, his eyes were sloppy and messy, and his right hand holding a hard pen writes and draws casually on the paper. This is the information from his previous life, and the writing is very sloppy. Even if it is placed in his previous world, it is almost impossible for people to recognize this ghost-like text. This also makes that if someone finds out what he is doing, they will only think that it is a random doodle in his distracted state. Here are some of his original plans for the near future, but the future is not static, so his plans will of course change accordingly. I didn't expect that I am really a genius. Thinking of what happened this evening, Soseki couldn't help but laugh. He originally planned to establish a genius character for himself in order to gain more resources. This is not difficult. If talent determines the upper limit of a person, then hard work determines the lower limit of a person. At least in Soseki's view, it is possible to make oneself an ordinary genius through hard work and efficient learning methods. In this ninja world, genius is not synonymous with stability. The assassination of the hostile ninja villages and the conflict of internal forces may cause the genius to die young. As Soseki knew, there were actually quite a few talented students in his class, but in the original plot, they didn't even have their names left. Mediocrity can indeed become a temporary umbrella to protect you, but the price is that you may be in mediocrity forever. He has no bloodline, no dojutsu, and no background. If he doesn't work hard to get more resources, maybe a mission or a war will make the name of Shimizu Soseki permanently disappear in the long river of history, without even causing a single ripple. Especially when he knows the future 3rd Ninja Great War and 4th Ninja Great War, the pressure is even more heavy. Since the risk is unavoidable, Soseki is more willing to take the initiative in his own hands. At least, he doesn't want to be unable to make the decision even in death. But optimistically, although these risks cannot be avoided, the degree of risk can be adjusted by himself. The way Soseki chose was to move closer to Sandame. Regardless of Sandame's reputation, he is still much more reliable than Danzo. Of course, this is not to say that after he becomes friends with Asuma, he will get closer to Sandame. Sandame can sit back and watch the Senju clan disappear, and can bear the bullying of the hero's son. Naturally, it is impossible to do anything to him just because he became one of Asuma's friends. However, this does not mean that Sandame is really heinous. As a politician, that is a mature and reasonable approach. The reason for the Senju clan to truly disappear from Konoha because Sandame truly inherits the idea of Senju Hashirama. He wants the people in the village to understand that clan disappearing is inevitable. And making Naruto suffer is actually convenient for him to control this humanoid nuclear weapon. If this high-risk weapon cannot be controlled by the leader, it is indeed a potential huge disaster. His thoughts are not wrong. What is wrong is his method of doing things and his failure to grasp the measure. Of course, these have nothing to do with Soseki. The only thing he has to do is to use Namikaze Minato as an example. Civilian ninja with amazing talent, not limited to their own interests, and willing to make selfless contributions to the village. This is simply the perfect embodiment of will of fire. Soseki couldn't help but sigh in the heart. Even if there is already a Namikaze Minato, I think Sandame will never mind if Konoha has another Shimizu Soseki. The more heirs of will of fire, the more correct his political views and actions will be. As long as he can become the heir of will of fire, in Sandame's eyes, he will have absolute safety in Konoha. Sandame can tolerate Danzo's mischief in some little things, but it is absolutely impossible for him to take a step back when it comes to ideals and paths. Because that would be a total denial of his life and beliefs. Therefore, from the very beginning, Soseki does not think that the identity as Asuma's friend can affect Sandame much. What he really wants to do is to use Asuma as a channel to convey the idea he wants to convey to Sandame's ears. When Soseki was not sure about his talent, he decisively accepted this duel, because winning or losing was no longer the main purpose of this duel. To win, there are ways to win, and there are ways to lose. Of course, he still hopes to win this duel as much as possible. My talent seems to be better than I thought. In this way, as an ordinary genius, I may consider a more perfect start, such as Soseki's gaze crossed the window and landed on the dark street. Go and meet Tsunade. Although he himself is more interested in genjutsu because of experiences in his previous life, in terms of the future path, the prospect of medical ninjutsu seems to be brighter. And one of the most important reasons why he chose becoming a medical nin to start his new life was because of Tsunade, or more correctly, the Shikatsu Forest's holy land behind Tsunade. As a ninja without bloodline, senjutsu is undoubtedly his best choice to strengthen himself, not to mention that the 3 great holy lands can also come with powerful summoned beasts. Moreover, one of the reasons why he chose to become a medical nin is to prepare for this. Senjutsu chakra is formed after the complete fusion of physical energy, spiritual energy, and natural energy, and the 3 must maintain a balance of 1/3 of each, otherwise there is a danger of being eroded by the forces of nature. This requires extremely precise chakra control, so he started training body control when he didn't even have chakra. As for why Tsunade was chosen, the reason was actually very simple. She is the best choice than the other 2. Needless to say about Orochimaru, as his disciple, he may be planted with the mark of love one day. As for Jiraiya, carrying the prophecy of child of the prophecy, it is impossible for him to accept disciple at will, especially when he already has Nagato and Minato. Although Tsunade is depressed and loves to bury her heart, such a person is precisely the best choice, not to mention that there is a bridge in his class that can get him closer to Tsunade. Should I get closer with Shizune now? Soseki denied this choice without much thought. Although he is the class leader, it would seem strange for him to suddenly show great hospitality to Shizune. The best thing is to let Shizune get closer with him proactively. So, what about genjutsu? With Kurenai, it is not impossible to get in touch with her father. Soseki muttered to himself. The easiest way to get the original startup funds for someone like him without background is, of course, to mooch from girls. Although mooching from a 5-year-old little lily is shameful to describe, he does not have many choices. Life is sometimes like this, one step at a time, one step at a time. This won't do. Being too impatient will cause my form personality to collapse. The best way is actually to take advantage of the situation after winning this duel, and this is back to the original starting point. I must defeat Asuma first. After thinking for a moment, Soseki mocked himself and thought in his heart, oh, I seem to have put the cart before the horse. The purpose of defeating Asuma is to gain attention and avoid risks. Acting too impatiently may put me in danger. Moreover, defeating Asuma is completely unnecessary to that extent. I only need 1 or 2 basic ninjutsu, plus some psychological cues. That should be enough. Soseki yawned, glanced at the papers full of ghost-like writings, and then shook his head in a pretentious way. He casually put the paper on the kerosene lamp and lit it. After the paper was burned to ash, he stretched out his body and walked to the bed. I will get my first ninjutsu tomorrow. As for senjutsu and genjutsu, let's plan slowly after this matter is over. N1. This is not to redeem Sandame. In fact, in my eyes, everyone is a complex individual. They are a contradiction composed of various tangled and complicated personality. That is, it is too arbitrary to judge a person with black or white. Just like Sandame, in my opinion, he is not a qualified father, not a qualified teacher, or not even a good person in the subjective sense, but as a cage from Ninja Village, from the perspective of those civilian and ordinary person, he should be called a qualified cage. After all, politicians are supposed to be ruthless beings. If they are too sentimental, it may become a disaster for the village. In short, it is difficult to find a real bad guy in this book, and I will try my best to judge the characters from an objective and fair perspective. When I write about the death of White Fang later, I will say a few sentences, because I really don't think that an expert will be so weak that he chooses to commit suicide because of some rumors, leaving his son who is only 6 or 7 years old. N2. One more thing, some of you may have doubts about me saying that Sandame is a qualified cage. The reason is that under his leadership, Konoha fell from the peak. But in fact, when Sandame took over Konoha, Shodame and Nidame had already passed away. And there was no high-level fighting strength in the village except Uzumaki Mito, and it was also in the Second Ninja Great War at that time. Under the circumstance of internal and external troubles, Sandame took over Konoha and brought Konoha back to the peak. In the current era of the protagonist, Sandame and Danzo are at their peak. The White Fang and Sannin are also famous in the ninja world, and clan heads of the great clans have also grown up. It can be said that to be Konoha's best era. Although the subsequent decline of Konoha is also a fact, it can be said that it is very rare to have a brilliant and wise ruler throughout the history. There are too few leaders who didn't make mistakes when they are old. That's why I said that Sandame is at least still qualified as a cage. Chapter 7 Konoha Hospital. Published by Web Novel. Naruto, Konoha's Light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's Light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's Light and explore the story behind it. N1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. N2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual people taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's Light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/10238196889. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. No, you can't touch it there. Tilde. If you do this again, I'm really going to be angry. Seeing the little son turned into little pufferfish, a group of elder sister nurses who were, like wolves and tigers, finally took back their sinful hands. Soseki sighed and rubbed his cheeks. He really didn't pretend to be pouting on purpose, but because his smooth face was really about to be swollen that he looks like pouting. In a sense, his previous life as an otaku is also inseparable from these kinds of terrifying women. Aren't I just a little cute? Is it necessary to play with me like a cat and a dog? Still don't want to. Although it is superficial, I still got benefit from this superficial thing after all. Maybe it's because of the quantum entanglement of the two space-times, but his current appearance is not much different from his previous life when he was a child. Therefore, he can already foresee more troubles brought by the transformation from cuteness into handsomeness. Of course, such troubles can also be transformed into hidden resources under certain specific circumstances. For example, mooching from girls. Soseki, aren't you already in school? Why do you still have time to come to the hospital? Hee, Soseki, do you miss his elder sisters? Alas, without Soseki-kun massaging shoulders for his elder sisters, there is no hope for this boring day. Although they no longer moved, these nurses still launched a sharp language offensive. Seeing Soseki's face turning red, the eldest head nurse stood up and said, Okay, is the job at hand not busy enough, or is there not enough patients to take care of? Tell me, and I'll make arrangements for you. She is said to be the oldest, but she is actually only around 30 years old. However, compared with these 16 or 17 years old nurses, she is indeed old. Hearing her words, most of the surrounding nurses dispersed in an instant. Even if it wasn't during the war, the life of ninja was destined to not be too stable. Therefore, Konoha Hospital has always been overloaded. Otherwise, it would not even accept child laborers like Soseki. Of course, this is also because Soseki has done a good job in his work. In terms of internal affairs, he alone can do 3 people's job in the hospital. At this time, the head nurse Mishiro put her hands on her knees and asked Soseki with half-bent waist, Soseki, did you encounter any difficulties in the academy? The nurse next to her who would rather stay and work overtime turned nervous upon hearing this. Could it be that Soseki is bullied? They also came from the academy, so of course they knew the unspoken rules of big clan, civilians, orphans in the school. Damn, if someone dares to bully you, I will never let him go. Yes, that bastard better hope he never comes to the hospital one day. Thinking that Soseki might be bullied, they could not wait to go back to the academy now, lock the gate of the academy, and beat up those who dared to bully Soseki. Yumiko ne, Misa ne, Kodoko ne, Mishiro-san, thank you. Soseki felt a warm current in his heart. Although he is more rational than emotional in this world, it makes him warm for having a bond that could make him felt recognized. Actually, I had a good time at the academy, and the students in my class are also very united. By the way, I am now the class leader and I have made many new friends. Wow, Soseki is really amazing. HMPH, that's good then. Hey, if Kaori-senpai knew about it, she would be very happy. Sorry. Misane, you don't have to apologize. You didn't say anything wrong. Soseki's face was calm, and with a little hope in his eyes, he continued, I'm doing well now, so my mother would be very happy if she knew. Seeing Soseki doesn't seem to fake it, the nurses are relieved. Of course, they don't care about Soseki just for that superficial reasons. Soseki's mother was once a member of the Konoha medic team. At the same time, she is also Mishiro's best friend and Chunin teacher of Yumiko's group. They are the most precious treasure left by Soseki's parents, helping him through the most difficult period of time. Of course, Soseki himself is also a bonus. A well-behaved and sensible child is always much more pleasing than those naughty kids. By the way, Soseki, are you here to share the good news with us today? Mishiro smiled, obviously very happy. Well, besides from wanting to reassure Mishiro-san, I have 2 more things to say. Soseki said with a serious face. Tell us, we're listening. Seeing this, Yumiko's group's eyes lit up. Soseki's small serious face is so cute that even Mishiro's hands begin to move. She was always fond of this contrast and didn't have much resistance against it. Soseki didn't seem to realize the approaching danger, and said seriously, the first thing is, I want to explain the situation to Nono-sama. From now on, I can only come to the hospital to help on weekends. As he said, Soseki's expression became a little nervous. It doesn't matter if you don't give me money, as long as you still accept me here. That's it. Michiro couldn't help but laugh dumbly. Soseki, this time, you underestimated your own role. During the days when you were away, the medicine management and bed turnover of the hospital were almost paralyzed. The leader and the others are worried every day, thinking about whether to catch you for a few more days. Kodoko repeatedly nodded. Without the process you set, we would have too much trouble working. Misa then complained, the worksheet made by Kazumi is too bad. I don't even know how I survive these days. Yumiko smiled and jokingly said, Shinya and the others are so happy to see you, but they are not just looking forward to your massage. Huh? Then I'll go take a look later. Soseki said calmly, actually, it is very simple to formulate a process. First of all, we need to understand everyone's living habits and try to eliminate the interference of time factors. Secondly, we need to have a rough estimate of your chakra reserves and chakra recovery speed, so that the efficiency can be maximized, and finally. Hearing this, Michiro couldn't help but ask, Soseki, where did you get this information? Soseki was puzzled and said, isn't it possible to know these things just by observing more? Looking at Soseki's expression like it is natural, Yumiko's group couldn't help but thought. No, that didn't seem to be something a normal person can do. Single quote. Cough cough, Misa said with an awkward but polite smile, it seems that we have wronged Kazumi. Is this the realm of genius? Michiro sighed and then said with a smile, but it's okay, at least, your importance can't be replaced, Soseki. Okay, Soseki, what's the second thing you want to say? Hearing this, Soseki said resolutely, Michiro-san, I want you to teach me medical ninjutsu. Chapter 8 The Identity of Genius. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's light and explore the story behind it. N1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. N2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual pupil taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's Light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/10238196889. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. Medical ninjutsu? Michiro was startled, then smiled and refused. It's too early for you. Yumiko smiled and said, it's really rare. Soseki, who is as calm as a little adult, can also be impatient. Michiro-senpai does not teach you ninjutsu for your own good. Only by laying a solid foundation can you go further on ninja's path. Misa also nodded. The most important thing for you now is to hurry up and learn to refine chakra, and then strive to raise the level of your chakra control to the point where you can learn medical ninjutsu before graduation. Training chakra control? Soseki stretched out his right hand, and the thin threads on his fingertips fluttered, actually weaving a pattern of Konoha's forehead protection in front of the four of them. Then, Soseki's asked with a little expectation, in his dignified expression, is this okay? The four people on the opposite side looked like they had seen a ghost, and Yumiko muttered in a daze, I must have not woken up yet, it must be. On the other hand, Kodoko tilted her head and said with a broken expression, haha, I still haven't reached that level of control yet. Michiro was stunned for a moment, then turned around abruptly and asked, did you teach Soseki the chakra refining method? The voice was very stern, obviously annoyed by the chaos caused by the three. They are only the middle and lower levels of the ninja world. They don't have a clear concept of when they can start refining chakra. They are also worried that their random guidance will harm Soseki, so they choose to believe in authority and let the academy to teach Soseki uniformly. Seeing this, Soseki hurriedly said, Michiro-san, the chakra refining method was taught to me by the teacher at the academy yesterday. When Michiro heard it, she asked in disbelief, in other words, you learned to refine chakra in just 2 days? Actually, it was 1 day. I used to think that I was a genius when I can refine chakra in 16 days. Misa touched her delicate chin with her fingertips, and couldn't help but look aside and asked, Kodoko, how many days did you spend at that time? I need 17 days. Yumiko's talent should be the best among us. She only took 14 days. Kodoko said. Soseki is really amazing. Maybe he will become a great person in the future. Yumiko said excitedly after returning to her senses. At this time, Soseki explained, actually, I am not that good. It is more of Asuma's credit. Asuma? Well, he is the son of Sandame Sama, Sarutobi Asuma. It turns out that he is the son of Sandame Sama, then no wonder. Soseki really made a very good friend. After hearing that the other party is Sandame's son, the doubts of these people instantly disappeared. When Naidame Hokage died in battle, Sandame took over the Hokage's position with the appointment of Naidame Hokage, led Konoha to win the war, and created Konoha's peak era, and he himself is known to be proficient in the 5 types of chakra attributes ninjutsu, and get the title of the professor. Therefore, Sandame's reputation in the middle and lower classes of Konoha can be said to be like the sun at high noon. In the hearts of Michiro and the others, he is almost like a god. Even if it's just Sandame's son, it makes them think that doing this kind of thing was a matter of course. Soseki hit the iron while it was still hot. This is also the advice given to me by Asuma. He has learned more than one ninjutsu and thinks that people like us just wasting our talents if we follow the rules completely. Michiro nodded again and again. Sandame Sama's son must have been taught by Sandame Sama himself. In other words, this is the evaluation made by Sandame Sama. Well, genius is used to break the rules. Our Soseki-kun is a real genius. Oh, then we have to teach Soseki ninjutsu quickly. Otherwise, Soseki will be too far behind the others. This is also the reason why Soseki sets himself up as a genius. In the ninja world, people are always tolerant of geniuses. If Soseki was mediocre, no matter how much he begged, Michiro will not teach him ninjutsu, because step by step is actually the best protection for beginners. But if they are genius, then whatever they do is understandable. It is because they don't understand the world of geniuses, so they will regard all this a matter of course, especially when Soseki's talent is beyond their knowledge. Instead, they are now beginning to worry that their mastery of ninjutsu is too small, which might drag down Soseki's talent. Let's count C-rank medical ninjutsu and below, and see which ones you have learned but I haven't mastered yet. Michiro said with a serious expression. Let me talk first. In addition to the most basic healing techniques, I can also hemostasis technique, hematopoiesis technique, silencing technique, and connection therapy technique. Misa said while counting with her fingers. I am similar to you, mainly with the addition of a purification technique. I also have a tranquility technique here, which can calm people who have been attacked by genjutsu. In Konoha, apart from the ninjutsu developed by the practitioner himself in clan secret ninjutsu, only ninjutsu below B rank can be taught privately. Don't look at the fact that B rank ninjutsu has almost no sense of existence in the later stage, but in fact, B rank ninjutsu is already regarded as a normal Chunin's trump card. Even for some Tokubetsu Jonin, B rank ninjutsu is still their main means in combat. In a sense, ninjutsu of B rank and above is already a strategic resource reserve of the ninja village. Once leaked, it is likely to mean the weakening of its own military strength and the strengthening of the hostile ninja village. Therefore, when Michiro and the others are learning this advanced ninjutsu, they have to set a seal at the same time to ensure that the village's technique does not spread. After they finished speaking, Kodoko said with a bitter expression, huh? Aren't any of us capable of using attack-type medical ninjutsu? Yumiko looked nervous. We medical nin have always been bad at fighting, but Soseki-kun is the class leader and will definitely be challenged by others in the future. Michiro also frowned and said, although my chakra scalpel can be used as an attack, it can only be effective in close combat. Seeing these people frowned, Soseki said quickly, Michiro-san, it's already good as long as you can teach me the most basic healing techniques. Healing techniques? Michiro frowned and said, this is just a D-rank ninjutsu. It would be a waste of your talent to choose this one. This is not a technique chosen as a graduation gift when I graduate, so you all don't need to be too serious. Soseki is somewhat helpless. He seems to underestimate the impact of this news on Michiro and the others. Hearing this, Michiro was stunned for a moment, then shook her head and sighed, just now, I said that you were not prudent enough. But now, it seems that I am the most impatient one. After listening to you, I immediately think of the graduation gift. Soseki smiled and said, if you care, you will be confused. Doesn't this mean that Michiro-san take my affairs more seriously than yourself? You, Michiro smiled half gently and half helplessly. Sometimes, you're so mature that it makes people feel distressed. Soseki smiled and said nothing. Michiro shook her head and walked towards the infirmary. Let's go, I'll show you a demonstration now. The graduation gift is a second design that I added. I will mention it here first, and there will be a detailed explanation later, mainly to explain why those big clans let their clan members enter the academy to study, and why Night Aim developed so many forbidden techniques. Chapter 9 Young Release. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's Light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's Light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's Light and explore the story behind it. N1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. N2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual people taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's Light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/10238196889. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. Along the way, the elder sister nurses he met all greeted him kindly. When he arrived at the infirmary, Soseki's hair was already messed up like a chicken coop. Michiro-senpai, is there anything you need? Seeing a few people coming, the nurse on duty stepped forward, but while questioning, her eyes drifted to Soseki who is standing behind Michiro. I'm looking for Captain Nono, Michiro said concisely. Oh, Nono-sama is right in front. I'll take you there. The infirmary is not large, and it is only a few steps away. Then, the nurse accepted the payment with peace of mind. Soseki's hands feel super comfortable. After some ravage, she finally left with satisfaction. At this time, Nono also saw these people. Michiro, what's the matter? She is not very old, only about 20 years old, but her medical skills have surpassed most people, so Michiro and the others respect her very much. Listening to her question, Michiro reiterated Soseki's worries. Nono stunned, looked at Soseki and then said with a gentle smile, Soseki-kun is still as gentle as before. Did you take the initiative to make this request because you knew the predicament of the hospital? Soseki tilted the head and asked, I don't understand what you mean, no. It's because of his own experience that he has developed the habit of not causing trouble to others. But how many children with similar experiences can be as mature as Soseki? Perhaps, I can give those sensitive children a home. Nono stared at Soseki, and a single thought quietly grew in her heart. Yumiko's group also came to a sudden realization, and then looked at Soseki with love and pride in their eyes. Compared with their naughty younger brother at home, Soseki is so much better. By the way, Captain, I have one more thing to ask. Michiro didn't think Nono would refuse, so naturally she didn't think too much and said, can you arrange me a patient who needs healing technique? Of course there's no problem with. Nono immediately responded, and asked with some doubts, but why did you suddenly ask for this? Michiro smiled and said, I'm going to show Soseki the details of the healing technique. Healing technique? Soseki should have seen it many times. After saying that, Nano's expression changed. You want to teach Soseki ninjutsu? Michiro nodded with a smile. Being able to become the captain of the medical team at the age of 20, Nano's intelligence is naturally extremely high, and she immediately thought of the crux of the matter. Soseki has learned to refine chakra? And he is very talented at controlling chakra? In fact, it's mainly because Hokage-sama's son helped Soseki. Even so, Mishiro's face was filled with unstoppable pride. Is it because of Hokage-sama? As a former elite of the root, she thinks far more than Michiro. However, this is also the main reason why Soseki used Asuma as a shield. Although he is still not sure whether Danzo will be interested in him, there is always nothing wrong with planning in advance. In Ward 47, a shinobi with 3 long and narrow scratches on his shoulders is lying on a hospital bed. Is it a wild beast scratch? Michiro glanced at it and asked. The shinobi on the hospital bed was a little embarrassed. I encountered an accident while performing D-Cough mission. The corners of Michiro and the others' mouths twitched slightly. The mission sounded serious, but it would be completely different if they were D-rank. Doing some tasks of finding cats and dogs to pick up garbage can encounter accidents. In a sense, he is indeed special. Of course, as kind-hearted medical staff, they won't point it out in person, lest the patient refuse to cooperate in shame and anger. Michiro stepped forward, and the palm of her hand was covered with green chakra. Soseki, I know you have seen us use healing technique many times, but that's when you don't have chakra. Now, feel with your chakra, and tell me what the difference between our chakra is. Okay, Soseki stretched out his right hand with a solemn expression, created a ball of chakra, and then fused his own chakra with Mishiro's chakra. He then closes his eyes and sensed the difference between the two. Is this the aura of vitality? Soseki suddenly opened his eyes, and he was keenly aware that his chakras seemed to have one thing less than Mishiro's chakra. You realized it so quickly, Michiro exclaimed in surprise, but then became joyful and gratified. Although it may be too early to tell you this, but to become a medical nin, you must first understand the essence of medical ninjutsu. Saying that, Michiro put her hands on the injured part of the injured shinobi, and under green chakra's soft light, 3 wounds with a length of 10 centimeters began to heal slowly. Taking advantage of this part of the time when chakra was in effect, Michiro asked again, Soseki, do you see it clearly? It has changed. Soseki pondered for a moment, then said seriously, chakra itself does not have attributes, but just like fire release, wind release, etc., the corresponding nature transformation can be produced after giving it the attributes, and our medical ninjutsu's essence should also be a release ninjutsu with attributes, right? The shinobi lying on the hospital bed couldn't help but ask, the academy has already started teaching you about nature transformation? Soseki shook his head and said, I went to the library today to find some materials and guessed it myself based on the theory. Huh? The passerby shinobi who doesn't deserve to have a name stares blankly, is that possible? He then glanced at Misa and the others again. Seeing that they all looked as if it was a matter of course, he couldn't help but fall into a situation of doubting life. I'm already a genin, but I don't even understand that. Could it be that I'm a fake? Michiro didn't care either. A tool person who doesn't make trouble is a good tool person. In addition to the 5 basic attributes of ninjutsu and kekkei genkai, there are actually 2 other ninjutsu attributes, yang release and yin release. Hearing this, Soseki said thoughtfully, so, the essence of medical ninjutsu is yang release? Yumiko's group quietly perked up their ears, as it was the first time they heard such a statement. Michiro nodded slightly. The attribute that produces vitality from the body is yang release. In addition to medical ninjutsu, yang release actually includes some secret ninjutsu, such as Akamichi clan's multi-size technique. Yumiko's group only feel disillusioned when they heard this. Akamichi clan's meatball ninjutsu and our medical ninjutsu are actually the same in essence? We will not become like Akamichi clan's big fatty in the future, right? Thinking of the terrifying scene, they instinctively shuddered. Michiro-san, I have another question. What is it? Each of us has our own 5 elements attribute. Only after testing the chakra attribute with chakra induction paper can we start the training of nature transformation to the corresponding attributes. However, I don't seem to have seen the yin and yang attribute test. Then, how to judge whether a person has the qualifications to train in medical ninjutsu or genjutsu? Yumiko's group subconscious nodded. The 3 great techniques of shinobi includes ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu. Although most shinobi will choose to specialize in one of them, are they qualified to train the other 2? Ah, Michiro blinked. This question seemed to have entered the blind zone of her knowledge. After pondering for a moment, she said unsurely, in the village, Chunin or Jonin who lead the team make the recommendations, but I am not very clear about the specific process. However, Soseki, you don't have to worry too much. I believe that you must have great talent in this area. Soseki nodded and stopped asking. He has some guesses about yang release and yin release, but it should be impossible to get more information from Michiro. After all, Michiro, which is the strongest among them, is just a Chunin. So what she knows is not necessarily the truth of this world. Chapter 10 The Pitiful Asuma. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's light and explore the story behind it. N1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. N2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual people taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/1023819689. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. Medical ninjutsu will not heal injuries too quickly. Even the mystical palm technique, which is an advanced medical ninjutsu, takes at least 5 minutes to deal with such large scratches. For normal medical nin. Therefore, during this free time, Michiro continued to explain, medical ninjutsu uses a hand seal to make the physical energy in the chakra active, and then make this part of the activated chakra enter the body according to a specific combination's flow and release. Soseki said according to his own understanding, can you explain it like this? Chakra is a known number, ninjutsu is a formula, and hand seal is an auxiliary calculation tool. The more powerful ninjutsu, which means the more complex the formula, the more hand seals that need to be used as an auxiliary calculation tool, and the final result is the ninjutsu we want to release. It was the first time that Michiro heard such a novel explanation. She subconsciously felt that what Soseki said made a lot of sense, but Shinobi's lack of attention to basic teaching made her a little uncertain. Why do you think this way? Soseki said seriously, I read Introduction to Chakra, Encyclopedia of Ninjutsu, Essentials of Ninjutsu, and many other books in the library today, but it all said that the 3 keys to using ninjutsu are to have enough chakra, the correct hand seal, and a complete ninjutsu's formula. Yumiko's group on the side asked in doubts, is there anything wrong with this? But I heard that the Shoden Hokage-sama who built Konoha can use ninjutsu without hand seals. Soseki said solemnly, in other words, process of forming hand seal can be omitted, right? In Soseki's view, if the hand seal is a calculation tool, then Shoden is a master of mental arithmetic, and he can skip the tedious process in the middle directly. It seems that you have also noticed the effect of hand seal on medical ninjutsu. Michiro sighed slightly. Every second we consume in forming hand seal may make the injured's condition worse, so every medical nin has to spend a lot of time practicing hand seal. However, even Tsunade-sama can't do things like no hand seal healing. Don't think too much, let alone ignore practicing hand seal. Soseki's nodded vigorously, I will. His vision is very long-term. He thinks that training without trying to understand made people can't go far. Seeing that Soseki does not have the arrogance of ordinary geniuses, Michiro was relieved, and then went on to explain, medical ninjutsu and genjutsu are much more difficult to use than general ninjutsu, and the reason is because of chakra control. Generally, ninjutsu only needs to mobilize the chakra in the body through the hand seal, but medical ninjutsu is different. It needs to precisely control the physical energy in the chakra composition. Kodoko raised her hand and asked, Michiro-senpai, why don't we directly mobilize our physical energy when we use medical ninjutsu? You're a shinobi, have you forgotten even the most basic knowledge? Michiro replied angrily, physical energy and spiritual energy are more of a concept. Only when the two are merged into chakra can they be considered as a real entity. To achieve the situation you said, it needs someone's physical energy that is strong enough to materialize, but how is that possible? Oh, Kodoko shyly shrank her upon hearing this. Soseki put small hand on his chin and thought to himself, usually, a person uses non-attribute chakra plus nature transformation to use ninjutsu. The reason why senjutsu is so powerful is that the essence of chakra has changed. Could it be that the source of Shoden Hokage's great strength is related to the essence of chakra? At night, in Soseki's small wood house. Soseki was sitting at the table, holding a knife, carefully making a shallow scar on the back of his left hand. He then quickly formed hand seal with both of his hands, and then, his right hand, which was covered with green chakra, was placed on the back of his left hand. It's a bit itchy and painful. It should be because the granulation tissue is accelerating and the nerve also recovers slowly. A minute? Even if it's just a small wound of this level, I still need 1 minute to heal it. Soseki murmured, collecting the physical feedback carefully. This is not to say that Soseki is so kind that he would rather hurt himself and catch a few small animals for experiments. He did this just because only his body can get the most real feedback. If the experience gained by simply using the healing technique is 1, and the experience gained by experimenting is 3, then the feedback experience that Soseki is getting from his own body is 10. With the limited amount of chakra he can refine in a day, this is the best way to improve his proficiency. Furthermore, Soseki also needs to figure out how much he can tolerate the pain and the precise recovery time when he uses medical ninjutsu. As a medical nin, he must ensure that his physical condition is under absolute control at all times. Only in this way will I be able to precisely control myself in the battle that will take place in half a month, of how much I am injured. In this way, Soseki took classes diligently during the day, immersed in the library at noon, squeezed out Asuma's remaining value after school, self-harming at home at night, and went to the hospital for internship on weekends. During this period, although there were occasional youthful episodes, all of them were easily settled by Soseki, and then he devoted all his energy to this extremely fulfilling study life. Soon, half a month passed by. Ding 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 tilde. When the school bell rang on time, there was a burst of cheers in the classroom, and then almost all of the students turned their attention to today's two protagonists. Because it is a private duel, in order not to take up public time, Soseki deliberately agreed to hold it after school today. Soseki, you must win. Class leader, it's up to you. Asuma, nothing, I called it wrong. Everyone around is cheering for the two people. Although Asuma doesn't care much about other people's opinions, he still couldn't help but feeling sour after listening to cheers. At this time, Asuma. When this sudden call, Asuma was refreshed. It seemed that I still had supporters. Looking at the direction from which the voice came, the girls in the class seemed to form a united front and shouted to him. If you dare to win against Soseki, we won't let you go. You can't say that, Soseki will be angry, but if you dare to hurt Soseki, HMPH. Aiya, don't talk about it. If you go on, Asuma will cry. Actually, they don't have much malice towards Asuma. Since Asuma and Soseki became friends, their perception about Asuma has also changed a lot. After all, how can someone who can be friends with Soseki be a bad person? Of course, the warning is also true. Chapter 11 Sandame. Is it too late for me to leave now? Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's light and explore the story behind it. AN1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. AN2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual pupil taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/10238196889. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. Asuma also understands this, but he still feels wronged, and then he looked at Soseki with eyes full of resentment. Only then did he realize that Soseki was still sitting calmly in his seat reading a book. Seeing this situation, Asuma couldn't help but step forward and asked angrily, "Our decisive duel is about to begin, but you are still reading calmly here. Can you at least be nervous?" Soseki closed the book helplessly and said, "It's because you are too strong, Asuma. That's why I try to get all the time I can have to improve." "Ah, is that so? Ah ha ha ha, I'm actually not too good." Asuma smiled triumphantly, and then asked, "What's the use of reading? Besides, you don't even have time to remember now." Soseki looked confused. "What do you mean I don't have time to remember?" The corners of Asuma's mouth twitched slightly, and then he said, "Could it be that you can remember the contents of the book after just reading it once?" "Yeah, isn't it normal for people like us?" Soseki nodded as if it is a matter of course. He then tilted his head and asked, "Can't you do it too, Asuma?" Although he had already given Asuma a lot of psychological suggestions, this time it was true. As a genius in the eyes of ordinary people, he had a photographic memory in his previous life. It is also because of this talent that he can still understand all the details of this world even after living here for several years. Asuma opened his mouth subconsciously. His throat was a little dry. "I actually can't do it. Could it be that I'm actually not a genius?" Thinking of this, Asuma's eyes helped but get a little wet. Seeing that Asuma began to doubt his life, Soseki walked outside with a smile. "Let's go. I've been looking forward to fighting you for a long time, Asuma." Asuma nodded and followed with heavy steps. In the academy's training grounds, there are already many teachers and senior students waiting here. Although in most people's eyes, this is just a farce between children, they are still somewhat interested as it involves the son of Hokage. What a bunch of rambunctious little brats. We weren't so naive back then. Hey, you were only 6 years old. Why are you trying to sound so mature? Cough cough. There are new students watching. Don't damage my majesty as a senior. Not only the students were whispering, but the teachers of all grades were also whispering. Tisk tisk. When did the battle between the two new students attract so many people? I hope this battle will not be too ugly. What's so good about a fight between two new students? Spit at each other? Maybe they will add chakra into their saliva. Generally speaking, it's not bad to be able to learn to refine chakra in half a month. But don't forget that Sarutobi Asuma is the son of Hokage-sama. Yeah, geniuses can break the rules. Yagami, don't play dead there. You are their teacher. You should know their progress best. Come on, tell us. Yagami smiled and said, Asuma is indeed a genius. He was already able to use the 3 bodies technique proficiently when he had just entered the academy. Now, maybe he has even more than 1D rank ninjutsu. Are you joking? Doesn't that mean he has already reached the graduation standard now? Don't talk nonsense. Shinobis not only need to be able to use the 3 bodies technique. Skills and experience are also a very important part, but this talent is indeed amazing. As expected of Hokage-sama's son, it seems that our Konoha is going to produce another genius like Orochimaru-sama. Just then, a hearty laughter came from behind them. Haha, don't praise him to the sky. Compared with Orochimaru, he is still far behind. Everyone turned around and found that the person who said that is Sandame, who is wearing the normal clothes. Ho, Hokage-sama, you are here too. Sandame waved his hand and said with a smile, I didn't come as Hokage today. You can just treat me as an ordinary student's parent. Having that said, the teachers standing beside Sandame still felt pressure. Fortunately, Soseki and Asuma appeared in the arena at the right time. Sandame's attention shifted to them, and the faintly discernible pressure on them finally eased a lot. Soseki, I know that you are very strong. In this academy, only you are worthy of being my opponent. Asuma shouted with a serious face without the slightest hint of shame. Come on, let these people see our strength. Hiss, everyone shuddered suddenly. What's with those shameful words? Many teachers' eyes are quietly turned towards Sandame. Children's behaviors are often come from imitating their parents, so shouldn't that mean that Hokage-sama behaves like this at home? The right hand of Sandame which is holding the pipe stiffened, and he began to doubt whether it is the correct decision to appear here today. Soseki formed the seal of confrontation, with both hands and said with firm eyes, Asuma, I'm going to start. Asuma also formed seal of confrontation, come. The moment the voice fell, Asuma leaned forward, swung his arm straight behind him, and charged towards Soseki and started attacking in short range. Soseki quickly retreated backwards. His right hand took out 4 shurikens from the shinobi bag on his waist and he clamped them between his fingers. His gaze is focusing on the Asuma's feet, predicting the opponent's next move. And then, whoosh. 4 shuriken was thrown simultaneously, piercing the air, and shot towards Asuma's shoulders and ankles respectively. Asuma's rushing figure stagnated, and then he forcibly changed the direction and jumped to the left, but before he could relax, he was startled by the soft sound of breaking through the air in his ears. From the corner of his eye, he saw that 4 shuriken were thrown at him again, giving the impression that he took the initiative to jump towards them. He actually predicted my movements in advance. This throwing technique is as expected of Soseki. Asuma sighed in his heart. Obviously, his physical strength and chakra are above Soseki, but he was the one who fell into crisis first. However, throwing skills at this level are not considered ninjutsu. Let me show you how ninjutsu is used. Asuma looked at the shuriken without having any intention to dodge or hide. Bang, ding 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 ding. A burst of smoke filled the air, and Asuma's figure switched places with the gravel under him. Asuma, who had just landed on the ground, rushed forward without any hesitation. Part of his gaze was fixed on Soseki's waist. You should have used up all of your shuriken, right? What are you going to do next, Soseki? It's amazing to be able to use body replacement technique so proficiently. Wait, that's... Ah, be careful. Hearing the bursts of exclamation around him, Asuma looked back subconsciously, and a cold light appeared in his sight. This is... Asuma's pupils shrank violently, and because he didn't have time to form hand seal, he could only hurriedly roll to one side to dodge it. A.N. 3 bodies techniques is not without hand seal. I checked it out specially. In Sakura vs Zaku, using body replacement technique also needs hand seal. But he was still a step slower, as a few drops of blood were dripping from his cheeks. Asuma didn't have time to care about the faint tingling on his cheeks, but looked at his opponent in surprise. Ahead, Soseki is standing quietly, his right hand is raised, and 4 shuriken are flying around him. Between the shuriken and his fingertips, nearly transparent chakra threads connect them together. Chapter 12 Psychological Suggestions. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's light and explore the story behind it. AN1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. AN2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual pupil taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's Light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/1023819689. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/conning translation. There are advanced chapters there. That is, chakra threads. It turned out to be Puppet Master's method used on the shinobi tool. Has his manipulation of chakra reached this level? Ordinary Puppet Masters can't do something like that. Indeed, under the condition of ensuring the speed of the shuriken, it requires extremely high chakra control to not be discovered by Asuma. Everyone was surprised, whether it was Soseki's prophet-like throwing technique or Asuma's body replacement technique. They all showed amazing skills that far surpassed all of the new students and even all older students. If these are still within the range of everyone's tolerance, then the ability that Soseki is showing now is very shocking. In terms of the difficulty of chakra control, that technique is no longer inferior to C-rank ninjutsu. I lost. If I didn't hear the audience's voices just now, I would have lost the ability to continue the fight. Asuma wiped the blood on his face with the back of his hand, and his voice seemed weak. Listening to what Asuma said, many people around showed embarrassed expressions. Hokage-sama didn't make a sound. It was obvious that he believed in Soseki's control ability. However, their subconscious actions broke Soseki's plan. Don't worry, the influence of external factors is part of the battle. Besides, what kind of battle it would be if it is without variables and surprises? Soseki smiled slightly, and did not seem angry because of external influences. Asuma took a deep breath and stopped fiddling. I understand. Only by fighting with all my strength can I show my greatest respect for you. Almost as soon as the voice fell, Asuma galloped towards Soseki, and at the same time, the shuriken hovering around Soseki shot out fiercely. The number of shuriken is not many, but under Soseki's control, it has evolved into a stormy aura. Asuma didn't dare to dodge, and it was also impossible to dodge. Even if his physical strength and chakra reserves are above Soseki's, once he fell into the situation of constantly chasing and fleeing, there would be only one ending that awaited him. He can only fight it head on. Asuma swung the chakra sword in both of his hands in front of him and blocked the shuriken. Ding 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 tilde tilde whoosh. Although Asuma's movements are very swift, Soseki's grasp of the angle was too good, either in the blind spot of Asuma's line of sight, or attacking from two opposite directions at the same time. Asuma was tired of parrying, and halfway through, he was even cut several times by shuriken. But instead of flinching, he rushed forward more and more aggressively. He didn't use body replacement technique. Does he want to use chakra in more critical places? Soseki narrowed his eyes slightly, and instead of using the gorilla tactic of flying a kite, he took out the kunai from his shinobi bag with his right hand and made a posture of staying in place. He was not fooled by the illusion in front of him. He can have the advantage right now. It is completely unprepared because of Asuma was inexperienced in his novel fighting style. But once the opponent is prepared, the disadvantage of this tactic will be highlighted, that is, the lack of power. After all, the shuriken is controlled by the chakra threads, so it is difficult to maintain its initial kinetic energy. Therefore, even after Asuma was wounded several times by the shuriken, he was still able to rush forward vigorously. Soseki knows very well that with his inadequately nourished body, if he enters the stage of guerrilla warfare, he will likely be dragged down by his opponent. I must continue to put pressure on him. Although Soseki has already a disadvantage, not only did he not back down, but deliberately pretended to be the winner and stood there waiting for Asuma's attack. These days, Asuma has been imbued by Soseki with the almost omnipotent suggestion of a rival. From refining chakra, to memorability, to the all-round suppression on battlefield, they are constantly consolidating this knowledge. So, when Asuma saw Soseki's posture, he subconsciously thought he had been seen through, and couldn't help but use the prepared ninjutsu in advance. Clone technique. With a bang, free Asuma surrounded Soseki at the same time. The clone created from has clone technique no entity, but Asuma happened to choose to use it after the shuriken attack. Because of that, Soseki can't use his shuriken to test which one is the real Asuma. However, Soseki didn't even hesitate at all. His eyes were firm, and the kunai he held in his hand pierced stabbed straight towards Asuma on the left. His perception is strong, not to mention, he has been paying close attention to each other's every move after seeing Asuma's thoughts. What? How could he find out so fast? Asuma was shocked in his heart and hurriedly raised his hand to block it. However, there is no reason to think about the result. How can Soseki's attack be so easy to block? The kunai is like a snake, wrapping around Asuma's arm and then stabbed his shoulder. We can only fight. Although he didn't have much actual combat experience, Asuma has been taught by a Tokubetsu Jonin after all, and knew that it was even more impossible to retreat now. Without hesitation, he grabbed his chakra sword, and threw away all of his defenses. Stab tilde. Asuma directly pierced a hole in Soseki's left shoulder, and blood spurted out. Soseki only had a shallow scar on his chest and he still had the upper hand, but his physical disadvantage also made his face look very pale. Seeing this situation, Yagami asked anxiously, Hokage-sama, should we stop them? Sandame raised his palm gently and said, since this path has been chosen, there should be bloodshed, even if they may die in battle. And, Sandame said with a playful look in her eyes. And what? Yagami asked in confusion. Haha, just look, this battle may be more interesting than you think. In the field, after a brief pause, the two rushed to each other fiercely again. Asuma relied his superiority in taijutsu to oppress Soseki, while Soseki controlled the shuriken to harass his opponent while finding the right time to grab kunai to make a swift attack. After just a few back and forth clash, the bloodstains on the two of them increased by a lot. However, neither of them showed anything any difference, and looked directly at each other, as if the injured person was not themselves. The expressions of everyone around them also became serious, not to mention the amazing strength that the two showed. The heart to endure the pain is enough to get everyone's attention. However, the balance of battle finally fell to Asuma's side. Everyone knew it, but they didn't mock Soseki because of this. Instead, they valued the two kids more and more. For shinobi, who is not specialized in taijutsu, relying on physical strength to win is not something to boast about. Not to mention, Soseki is also at a disadvantage in terms of physical strength because of malnutrition. In their view, Soseki, who showed amazing tactics and chakra control skills, is the real winner of this battle. But just when everyone thought the battle was coming to an end, Soseki suddenly bit the kunai into his mouth, and quickly formed hand seal with both hands, completing the ninjutsu in less than a second. So fast, this thought suddenly flashed in everyone's mind. Although Soseki didn't make a lot of hand seals, it is still impossible for most of them to do that within 1 second. It's just, what is the ninjutsu he used just now? They thought about it, and then saw Soseki put his right hand on the wound. His face turned red rapidly, and even the wound on his chest was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. That is that healing technique. Not to mention healing technique, it's impossible even for mystical palm technique to have such effect. Not to mention those students, even the teacher was confused. Hokage-sama, what is that? Sandame smiled slightly and said, don't doubt your eyes, that is indeed healing technique. How can healing technique have such an effect? And you still call yourself a teacher? Sandame shook their heads and scolded, can't you even see what the real condition of the students is? Chapter 13, The Perfect Embodiment of the Will of Fire. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's Light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's Light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's Light and explore the story behind it. N1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. N2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual pupil taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto. Konoha is light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/1023819689. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. Real condition? Yagami was taken aback and hurriedly asked, could it be that Soseki wasn't injured? It's not that he wasn't injured, but the extent of the injury is far less severe than what you see. Sandaime looked Soseki with admiration in his eyes. To be precise, he was actively leading himself to get injured. Those injuries look very serious, but in truth, it doesn't really affect his combat ability that much. Is this kind of thing even possible? Of course, but the premise is, Sandaime was in a happy mood and couldn't help but took out his pipe and started smoking. You need to have enough understanding of your own body. Another point is that he has brought healing technique to the extreme. Even if I was the one who used healing technique, I may not be able to do better than him. The people around couldn't help but widen their eyes upon hearing this. Although Sandaime is not a specialized medical nin, as the famous professor of the shinobi world, his mastery on medical ninjutsu has actually surpassed the vast majority of medical nin. Sandaime's original setting was the professor who was proficient in 5 attributes, but the added setting later became a complete set of 7 attributes. To make him say such a thing, it is enough to show Soseki's talent in medical ninjutsu. Besides sighing, there are still people who are puzzled, but what's the point of doing this? No matter how much he covered it up, his strength will not increase in the slightest. Sandaime spit out a smoke ring and said, it's not as simple as you think. Asuma should know the effect of medical ninjutsu very well, but now, he is impatient. Everyone was shocked when they heard this and quickly looked at the battle, only to find that Asuma was sweating profusely at this moment. Not only he is short of breath, but his pace has also become messy. Is this psychological warfare? It's true, he really has recovered. After several collisions, Asuma confirmed the answer he saw. On the other hand, Soseki didn't use words to stimulate his opponent, but with firm eyes, he attacked Asuma without saying a word. But the more this happened, the more Asuma believes that Soseki is unfathomable. Clone technique. Under the tremendous pressure of Soseki, Asuma's clone technique breakthrough on the spot, and the number of the clones increased by 1. However, it was still useless. A clone without a physical entity could not interfere with Soseki's judgment at all, and it was just a futile waste of chakra. It also seems that Soseki seems to be no longer deadlocked due to the healing of his medical ninjutsu, and instead chooses the same violent style as Asuma. It didn't take long for his body to be covered with scars again. Then, under Asuma's tired eyes, Soseki touched his chest with his left hand again, and the seemingly serious injury quickly healed. It's like this again. It's too strong. Is this Soseki's true strength? Looking at Soseki's calm demeanor, Asuma's chest was heaving, and even the hands holding the chakra sword trembled slightly. Although he had the upper hand before, the rhythm of this battle was actually in his opponent's hands, and Soseki's expression has not changed from beginning to the end, making him feel like he couldn't figure it out. The combination of various tangled and complicated factors makes Asuma's psychological defensive line gradually fall apart, allowing Soseki's psychological suggestions that were planted before the battle to continue to take root. Finally, Asuma's mentality is completely out of balance. Alas, Asuma is going to lose. Well, his rhythm has been completely disrupted. As expected of Soseki, he's too strong. He is too monstrous. There is simply no way to fight him. Not many people can see Soseki's true strength. Seeing that Asuma's offensive was becoming more and more incoherent, everyone around made judgments about the battle in their hearts. Asuma also noticed his own problem, but it was useless. The more he wanted to calm down, the more impatient he became. When his thoughts were chaotic, a few wounds are added on his body. Calm down me. Asuma was breathing rapidly, fiercely biting the tip of his tongue. The key to this battle lies in Soseki's medical ninjutsu, but his hand seal speed is too fast to interrupt. If that is the case, I can only find a way to make his medical ninjutsu ineffective. That is to say, use an attack that exceeds the upper limit to make Soseki directly lose his combat capability. Although I'm still not proficient enough in this technique, I can use it. Asuma approached the opponent while forming hand seal with both hands, snake ram monkey boar horse tiger, fire release, great fireball technique. It turned out to be a C-rank ninjutsu. You're kidding, right? Shunin level ninjutsu was actually used by academy student. The older students around couldn't help but widen their eyes when they saw this. When they were still unable to use E-rank ninjutsu, a new student could already use Shunin level ninjutsu. Even if the other party is the son of Hokage, isn't it still too ridiculous? Sighing, everyone suddenly reacted, not good, Soseki. As a highly difficult ninjutsu in C-rank ninjutsu, the attack range and the destructive power of great fireball technique is very large, and Soseki also seemed to be frightened stupidly, as he only stood there blankly until he was hit by the big fireball. Boom. The heat wave is raging, and the flames engulfed everything. I killed Soseki. Seeing this, Asuma's hands trembled, his pupils lost their brilliance, and his whole person lost his strength. Just when Asuma was in grief, a chill suddenly came from his neck, accompanied by Soseki's slightly apologetic voice. Sorry, Asuma. Hearing this, Asuma was overjoyed. Sniffling his nose, he turned around and asked, Soseki, you didn't die? Soseki withdrew the kunai that was pressing on the back of Asuma's neck, and said helplessly, Hokage-sama didn't take action, so of course it means that he is sure that I can dodge it. Oh, even that annoying father is also here. Soseki looked at him with strange expression. Asuma, language? Asuma looked embarrassed and said, I accidentally bit my tongue just now, cough, I'll take some control. Asuma then changed the subject and asked, by the way, how did you dodge it just now? Soseki smiled and said, of course it's because of the body replacement technique. You also can use body replacement technique, but I haven't seen you use it before. Even if I didn't use it before, it doesn't mean I can't. After all, I don't have as many chakra as you. Asuma was still in disbelief. It's just half a month. Not only did you learn such a powerful medical ninjutsu, but you can also use body replacement technique so well. Soseki asked as if it is a matter of course. For people like us, isn't it normal to learn body replacement technique with just a few looks? Soseki did not take this matter seriously. Compared with Uchiha Itachi, who can learn great fireball technique at a look, his performance is actually just an ordinary genius. That, you can learn it with just a few looks. Asuma's eyes were dazed, seeming a bit at a loss. After a while, he sighed with gloomy eyes. I might not be worthy to be called a genius like you. Yeah, I'm actually just an ordinary person, right? For him, who was still in his Chunibyo phase, the blow of disillusionment was indeed a bit big. Just as Asuma fell into self-doubt, a pair of palms pressed against his shoulders. What are you talking about, Asuma? You are so strong. I am not your opponent at all in terms of real strength. Saying that, Soseki's tone suddenly became serious. If you were so frustrated by just one defeat, as your rival, I will be very, very disappointed. Asuma raised his head, just in time to meet Soseki's eyes that seemed to be beating and sparkling. For a moment, inexplicable emotion filled his heart. Asuma's nose twitched hard and then he said with a heavy nasal voice, I know, next time. Next time I will definitely defeat you. Seeing that Asuma had once again become that familiar Chunibyo, Soseki smiled and said, let's form the seal of reconciliation. Okay. On the other side, Okawa Takeuchi, who was Asuma's instructor, bowed his head in shame. Hokage-sama, this is my serious dereliction of duty. Asuma has the best diet, the best resources, and is guided by a top teacher like him. But in the end, he still lost, and he still lost to a new student without any resources, a war orphan. With such an outcome, Okawa Takeuchi felt that he is the one to blame. Sandaime smiled and waved his hand. You have done a good job. I have seen the growth in Asuma. But Asuma-sama still loses. It's better to lose now than to lose on the battlefield in the future. Moreover, he loses because his opponent is too strong. Sandame smiled and knocked on the pipe. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, even I could hardly believe it. It's not something a new student who has only studied in the academy for half a month can do it. Okawa Takeuchi nodded vigorously. That kid is basically a monster. In the field, cheers came one after another. Sandame looked at this scene with a smile. In addition to the talent, he actually values Soseki's background and light more. A war orphan, but not withdrawn or resentful. Instead, he can warm others with his sunny attitude every day. At the Konoha hospital, almost every doctors, nurses and wounded loves him very much. The same is true at the academy. In just half a month, all students in his class can recognize his leadership. Single quote. This is simply the perfect embodiment of will of fire. No wonder he can say such speech. Sandame sighed in his heart, and then said with a smile, let's go, leave the time for laughter to them. Chapter 14 Danzo, for Konoha? Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's light and explore the story behind it. N1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. N2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual people taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/1023819689. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. Konoha, in a dark underground secret room. Oh, it's the so-called will of fire again. A shady old man with half of his body wrapped in bandages sneered while looking at the document in his hand. Tisk tisk, what an amazing talent. A civilian shinobi who has been in the academy for only half a month can actually defeat Sensei's son. The shinobi standing behind the shady old man said, and a pair of snake pupils flashed with fluorescent light. If it were you, you should be able to do it too. The bandaged old man turned back and asked indifferently, right, Orochimaru? Hee. Orochimaru sneered, but didn't answer. Instead, he greeted the other party's gaze again and asked, is Danzo-sama very optimistic about him? Do you want him to be a member of the root? Optimistic? Danzo said with cold and arrogant tone, HMPH, I'm not optimistic about the person Hiruzen is optimistic about. People who can't be ruthless, no matter how good their talent is, won't become a qualified shinobi, and, HMPH. And, in fact, it's actually because of the will of fire. The corner of Orochimaru's mouth curled up slightly, and he secretly despises in his heart. He clearly remembers that when Danzo outstretched his hand towards Jiraiya's disciple, his always indecisive teacher unexpectedly acted resolutely and cut off all the branches of the roots which are sticking out of the ground, making someone felt heartache and look for his teacher desperately. Otherwise, with the amazing talent displayed by Namikaze Minato, how could Danzo pretend that he didn't see it? Even if you were assassinated, you didn't care, however, if it's about the will of fire, but you will never back down. Orochimaru's eyes flashed with a haze, and he sighed inwardly, Sensei, in your eyes, what is the village like? Two people with different thoughts are thinking about their own thoughts, causing the already silent underground chamber secret room to fall into dead silence again. After a while, Danzo the document in his hand aside and said, what did you think about the things I told you last time? Orochimaru narrowed his eyes slightly and said, I have to think about this kind of thing. After all, that's not someone I can deal with easily. That's right, whether it is Namikaze Minato or Shimizu Soseki, they're just minor characters who were poisoned by that bastard Hiruzen. The only one worth paid attention to is that guy called Konoha's White Fang. One weak Hokage is enough. If we even let that kind of weak loser take over the Yondaime Hokage's position, it will only pull Konoha down into the abyss. Danzo became more and more excited as he said that, and his whole body seemed to bloom with a holy brilliance. For Konoha, we must get rid of him. Orochimaru on the side seemed to be taken aback by the holy brilliance and was astonished. Does he really think he is doing that for Konoha? As if he finished venting his dissatisfaction with Sandame, Danzo regained his composure and said, since you are here, it means you have made a decision. Tell us your conditions. Orochimaru licked the corner of his mouth, and then said, I want Shodan cells. Danzo turned his head abruptly, and then stared at Orochimaru. That experiment has been called off. You should know it, right? Orochimaru smiled and said, Danzo-sama, are you really willing to give up the means of controlling the Kyuubi? For Konoha, a small price and sacrifice are all worth it. Danzo was silent for a moment, and then grinned. I really want to know what kind of expression on Hiruzen's face when he knows that his favorite disciple is of the same type as me. Orochimaru didn't care about Danzo's ridicule, and just sighed. Fate always leads people to different paths. Outside, the battle between Soseki and Asuma surprised many people, but it only stopped there. The eyes of the adults wouldn't stay on children all the time. It seems that the peaceful life is on the right track again. Ding 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 tilde. The class is finally over. The theory class is really boring. That's right, when will we have the actual combat class? Hey, you guys should give some respect to Yagami-sensei. It seems so. Then, let's go out and play the violent football that Soseki told us last time. Okay, I want to be on Soseki's team. Hateful, you were already on the same team as the class leader yesterday. It should be our turn today. There are not many classes in the first grade, and there is enough time between adjacent classes for them to vent their excess energy. In the classroom, Soseki watched this scene with a smile. Obviously, his small group plan has begun to bear fruit. The herd mentality is universal, especially in childhood when people's minds are still immature. When he has established an excellent, reliable and friendly image, and labeled himself as someone perfect, these little students who were still ignorant about interpersonal relationships would naturally gather around him. Of course, there are still exceptions. Mizuki, don't you want to play together? Soseki invited someone in the corner with a smile. Although he is jealous in his heart, Mizuki didn't dare to openly refute Soseki's authority in the class, so he just pretended he didn't hear it. However, this alone has made many people unhappy. What's your attitude, bastard? Soseki is talking to you. Stinky guy, I really want to beat you up. Mizuki didn't expect at all that he would be targeted for just venting his dissatisfaction. For a while, he apologized at a loss. Without any other choice, he can only apologize helplessly, I'm sorry, I just feel a little uncomfortable, it's not on purpose. Listening to Mizuki's voice that is full of grievances and resentment, Soseki said, don't be like that you guys. Everyone is a classmates and classmates should take care of each other and help each other. As if he didn't see Mizuki's strangeness, Soseki looked at him, sincerely, and said, Mizuki, I'm so sorry, I apologize to you on their behalf, but I can actually see that you really want to join us, right? If you have any concerns, please tell me. After all, people like us can only rely on our friends around us. Mizuki's body trembled slightly, but he still didn't look up. Soseki didn't care either, and after he finished speaking, he took the lead and walked outside, but after passing by Kurenai's seat, he stopped for a while and glanced in her direction. Kurenai, do you want to go together? Huh? Me? Kurenai was a little moved, but after looking at the boys around Soseki, she finally shook her head and said, this is you boys' sport, so I won't take part in it. Well, next time I will also design some games suitable for you girls to play. Soseki smiled and walked out of the classroom while thinking to myself, it has been confirmed that Shinku-senpai completed the mission yesterday and already returned to the village. These few days are his days off, so I can almost start the plan. I wonder how far the current psychological suggestion has progressed. If it's too late, I may have to step up efforts. Soseki, what's wrong with you? Seeing that Soseki is absent-minded, Asuma on the side asked. It's nothing, I just noticed some unfriendly eyes. Soseki didn't show any strangeness, as he just turned around and looked behind him. Asuma also turned his head and followed Soseki's gaze. At this moment, outside the classroom on the 2 floors above them, a few boys who look like bad kids are sitting on the guardrail and pointing at them. Those guys are in the 3rd grade, and like to bully new students. As the son of Hokage, his information channels are naturally much better than those of Soseki's. Bullying the new students? Soseki asked, rubbing his chin in thought. A lot of students in the 2nd grade have been bullied by them, but... Asuma folded his arms and snorted disdainfully, with me, Sarutobi Asuma here. Let's see if they dare to provoke us. There were indeed few people around who were afraid, not to mention Asuma's identity, who is the son of Hokage. Just the strength shown by him and Soseki in the previous battle far exceeded the level of normal students. Academy's bullies? Soseki glanced at the bad kids with a meaningful look, and then smiled and walked with everyone toward the playground. N1. In that part of Yakushi Kabuto's arc, it was still in the 3rd Shinobi World War, and the Uchiha clan had not yet been destroyed, but Danzo was already dressed as a bandaged old man. N2. Although in the anime Danzo tried to assassinate Sandame after the Kyuubi's attack, but looking at his skilled way of operation, I feels there is reason to think that it is not the first time for him to do that. After all, as a good close friend full of love and hate with Sandame, it is impossible that Danzo does not know Sandame's strength, but in the anime, Danzo actually, naively, thinks that relying on Yamato and his weak subordinates will be enough to assassinate Sandame. Considering the logic of the character's behavior, there are 2 possibilities I concluded. One is that Konoha was too strong before and has been targeted, so Sandame and Danzo deliberately showed their love and hate towards each other, giving the outside world a false impression of civil strife and weakness. And the second possibility is that Danzo is constantly testing Sandame's bottom line. But no matter what the possibility is, it should be understandable that Danzo has already tried to assassinate before the Kyuubi's attack. Chapter 15 Shimizu, Scum, Soseki. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's light and explore the story behind it. N1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. N2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual pupil taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's Light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/1023819689. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. Seeing many new students provoking themselves with their gazes, the bad kids sitting on the guardrail on the 3rd floor are very unhappy. Bastard, how dare those little brats look at us like that? HMPH, did they think we would not dare to do anything to them just because of the identity of the Hokage's son? However, they did not seem to have much confidence when they said that, and their eyes kept drifting towards the person in the middle. Shunin, what do you think we should do? You are the new star of the Uchiha clan. You can't lose to Sarutobi clan. In their opinion, although Sarutobi clan is backed by Sandame Hokage, they are still inferior compared to the Uchiha clan, a noble clan who has been famous in the shinobi world since the Warring States period. Moreover, they don't think that the fight between children can cause any substantial conflict between the 2 great clans. The youngster named Shunin seemed a little hesitant. His father has told him not to conflict with the Hokage's family in the academy. The philosophy and pride he accepted since childhood made him unable to understand why Uchiha, the strongest and noblest clan in Konoha, should make concessions to others, but his father's insistence made him finally agree to it. It is also based on this that he mixed with these companions, and used methods to bully the weak to cover up his lack of confidence. However, he would never say the kind of weak excuses his father said. After thinking for a little bit, Shunin shook his head and said, although I am not afraid of that Asuma, it is not good to deal with them. They have learned to form a group now, and when the time comes, what we have to face may be a few group of more than 10 people. Really? They already know how to form a group when they are still new students. They should be just look difficult to deal with. If they really get into trouble, maybe they will back off. In fact, they were already a little hesitant. For most students who are not proficient in ninjutsu yet, the deterrence of numbers is quite effective. They only rely on the strength of their small group to bully the students in the academy. Even the students in the higher grades don't dare to provoke them. Thinking of this, the dissatisfaction in the hearts of these people gradually dissipated, and some said with a lack of enthusiasm, they sure are lucky. We should just go to the 2nd year guys to borrow some money later. However, those cowards in the 2nd grade seem to have started to form a group too. It's alright, the one we are looking for are the easiest to bully. Besides, there are no monster geniuses like those new students in the 2nd grade. With Boss Shunin here, they won't dare to stand up for others. On the playground. Hurry up and stop Asuma. Don't let him have the opportunity to use the clone technique. Damn, it's hard to fight against ninjutsu. Don't worry, we also have class leader here. Soseki, I will definitely not lose to you this time. Asuma dribbled the ball. The 5 identical figures changed positions back and forth, shouting and rushing towards Soseki. Didn't you realize that you have one more clone? Soseki said with a faint smile. Huh? What? Asuma was puzzled, and subconsciously kicked the ball towards his other self. Asuma, number 5 did not move on after receiving the ball, but gave a weird smile. Asuma, thank you. With a bang, Asuma, number 5 turned into Soseki and quickly returned to the center with the ball. Clone technique and transformation technique. Damn, when? Asuma was annoyed. If it hadn't been for Soseki to disturb his mind with words, he should have noticed it at the last moment. Soseki didn't choose to dribble the ball solo, but instead kicked the ball towards his teammates. Even if these teammates frequently lose the ball, he still patiently did auxiliary work. For him, personal heroism like Asuma's is not desirable, although it is the best thing to do if they wanted to win. Just as the game was getting more and more heated, a little girl from their class hurried over. It's not good, there's a fight in the class. However, Soseki did not see any panic on her face, but rather the excitement of seeing a gossip. Is this level of suggestion enough? Soseki had roughly guessed what happened, but he still pretended to be surprised and asked, Suzuki, what's the matter? It's Kurenai, Kaoru, Hanako, and Yui, they are fighting. And, why did they suddenly fight? It's because Yui and the others have started a battle for getting class leader. What? The voice fell, and everyone around looked towards Soseki with strange gazes. Although the children in this world mature quickly, they will not talk about love at the age of 5 or 6. In Soseki's view, this kind of ignorant emotion is actually more of a yearning for beautiful things. This kind of beauty can be at all things, appearance, shape, character, temperament, knowledge. These beauty will make people feel comfortable, and thus spontaneously surround those better people. For children with immature minds, they don't know how to hide their emotions, so it is not strange to trigger a battle. Actually, this kind of thing is not uncommon in Soseki's previous life. Thanks his family's excellent genes, his little nephew who is still in kindergarten has complained to him many times that the harem is not easy to take care of. Of course, with Soseki's ability, this kind of thing can be completely avoided. In fact, for it to evolve into the current situation, it is because he is behind the scenes. Alas, I even have to deceive 5-year-old girls' feelings. I'm really a scumbag. Sighing with emotion, Soseki returned to the classroom. As soon as he walked in, he heard chaotic screams and crying in the classroom. My head hurts so much, woo 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 tilde. Ah, Hanako has stopped responding. What? Hanako is not breathing? What? Hanako is dead? Wah, hurry up and tell Yagami-sensei. Two little girls are sitting on the ground and crying loudly. There is another little girl lying quietly beside them. Kurenai sat in her seat, looking not knowing what to do, and her big eyes were filled with hazy mist. As for the surroundings, there are the watching crowds who are making a fuss. After a few glances, Soseki has already figured out the general process. It should be Hanako's group of 3 who came to find trouble with Kurenai. However, Kurenai is a genius in genjutsu among Konoha's normal genius. Naturally, Kurenai is not something that 3 ordinary girls can handle. After using one genjutsu, all 3 girls are already defeated. However, Kurenai obviously underestimated her genjutsu's formidable power. For an immature child, genjutsu's danger is significantly higher than other ninjutsu. Kaoru and Yui are fine, as they only felt mental pain. But for who has a weaker resistance like Hanako, she directly loses consciousness. Moreover, unlike the elite Kunoichi in the future, the current Kurenai is just a little girl with a little talent. When encountering this kind of thing, she is naturally scared to death. Seeing Soseki coming in, Kurenai subconsciously ran forward, grabbed the corner of Soseki's clothes and whimpered, "Soseki, I may have killed someone, please arrest me." Soseki smiled and reassured her, "It's not as bad as you think. Hanako should have just fainted." "Really, is that true?" Kurenai asked while looking at Soseki with wide eyes, like a small beast worried about being abandoned by its master. Everyone in the classroom also noticed Soseki's arrival. As if they had found their backbone, they swarmed towards Soseki and explained to him what happened before. Soseki spreads his hands wide and said with a gentle but powerful voice, "Don't worry everyone, I am here." This short sentence seems to have infinite magic power, making the noisy classroom quiet in an instant. Seeing this, the little boys like Asuma are all envious in their hearts, as they also want to have this kind of prestige, while the other little girls are looking Soseki in admiration, waiting for his performance. Chapter 16 The Same Pitifulness. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's light and explore the story behind it. AN1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. AN2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual pupil taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's Light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/1023819689. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. After the noisy classroom quieted down, Soseki walked forward, and after observing for a while, he formed hand seal with both hands, and his hands, which were glowing with a dim light, were pressed against Hanako's forehead. Seeing this situation, everyone held their breath and did not dare to make a single sound. It didn't take long for Hanako's frowning eyebrows when she fainted to relax, and then she woke up leisurely in everyone's expectant eyes. Wow, Hanako is alive. Amazing, I knew that class leader would definitely do it. That is, tranquility technique. In just a few days, Soseki has mastered another medical ninjutsu. On the side, Asuma's eyes were filled with confusion. Isn't everyone saying that medical ninjutsu and genjutsu are the most difficult to master? Soseki did not immerse himself in everyone's cheers, but turned around and walked towards Yui and Kaoru, and healed them with tranquility technique too, which moved these two forgotten little girls. Asuma, Ibiki, can you guys help me to take them to the hospital together? Although Soseki is not sure whether Asuma will follow the original path, but in order to prevent Asuma from sabotaging his plan, Soseki decided to call Asuma on his own initiative. Oh, okay. Asuma didn't know the dark thoughts in Soseki's mind. After recovering from the sluggishness, he rushed forward and said depressedly, "You bastard, you actually learned ninjutsu behind my back. Damn it, if I don't work hard, you will surpass the number of ninjutsu I have learned." Before Soseki could answer, Ibiki's faint voice came from the side. "You don't need to struggle, sooner or later I will also pass you." Hateful, even you guys dare to look down on me. However, before Asuma finished venting, something even more depressing happened. He saw Yui staring at him with a look of wariness and resistance, and then she stepped back and said, "No, I can walk by myself." Seeing the other party take 2 steps warily, Asuma became even more depressed. "Hey, you sure are comical." Ibiki was sneering at the side, and heard Kaoru, who was supported by him, whispering, "Alas, why is it not me who fainted? I really envy Hanako." Ibiki's body stiffened and then he looked towards Asuma, and there was an inexplicable feeling of pity for each other in the eyes of the two. When the hospital's affairs are finished, it was already afternoon. Soseki returned to the classroom, and everyone swarmed around him to ask about the situation. "Don't worry, it's okay." Soseki reassured them with a smile. "Since Soseki has said so, then I am relieved. Haha, it's good that everything is fine." Everyone was happily laughing, and in the hustle and bustle, a somewhat lonely figure fell asleep on her seat. Soseki walked towards the figure and said, "Kurenai, are you alright?" Kurenai didn't speak, and only slightly shook her head buried in her elbow. "I understand, you are blaming yourself, right?" Kurenai did not speak again and also didn't move. Soseki is not surprised, and said in a gentle and comfortable voice, "Actually, you did nothing wrong. If it were me, I would have made the same choice as you." Hearing Soseki's remarks, which are completely different from the others, Kurenai timidly raised her head, "But I almost killed Hanako. I don't want to use genjutsu anymore." Of course there is nothing wrong with using genjutsu to protect yourself. What's wrong is to use genjutsu on your companions. As expected, I still. Hearing this, Kurenai lowered her head again in frustration. "No, it's me who is really wrong. As the class leader, I did not discover and take care of your conflict in time, which made you who should be your companions to be on the opposite side. So, you, Hanako, and the others are not wrong. The only one who is really wrong is me." No, it's not." Kurenai suddenly shook her head. "How could you be wrong? Obviously." Without waiting for Kurenai to finish speaking, Soseki walked straight to the podium and said, "Everyone, can you all listen to me?" Hearing Soseki's voice, everyone in the classroom turned quiet instantly. "Today, some unpleasant things happened in our class, but please don't blame Hanako and Kurenai. It's all because I didn't fulfill my responsibility as the class leader. If I cared about everyone, this kind of thing would never happen. I'm sorry for causing trouble for everyone." "Huh? There is no such thing." "HMPH, class leader, you look down on us too much." "That's right, we also didn't do anything at all. It was obvious that it is also our fault." "Asuma, Ibiki. That's me being hypocritical." Soseki smiled brightly, and his sincere eyes swept across the crowd. "We are all shinobi, and the only thing we can rely on when we are performing missions in the future is our companions. Therefore, I hope that each of us can protect each other's back, and each of us can be friends forever. Is that possible? I want to be friends with you all forever." "Of course, we will always be friends." "Definitely." "Soseki, how about Hanako and the others?" Yagami slammed the door open, and then, he was frightened by the fanatical atmosphere in the classroom and his legs started shaking in fright. However, he asked in a nonchalant manner, "How about you continue?" After school, Soseki was sorting out his small school bag when suddenly a small hand tugged at the corner of his clothes from the front. Soseki looked up, and saw that it was Kurenai who had recovered her vitality. "Soseki, thank you," Kurenai said earnestly while clenching her small fist. "It's okay, we're friends after all." Soseki sighed. "Moreover, this misunderstanding is actually because of me." Hearing this, Kurenai interrupted angrily, "Why do you still say that? I'm not that vulnerable anymore." "I'm not. Forget it, nothing." Soseki shook his head with a smile and said, "Then let's go together." Huh? Kurenai's eyes were a little erratic. She looked at the ceiling and said, "Soseki, you can go first. I want to stay in the classroom for a while." Huh? Soseki looked up and down on her suspiciously, and put his small hand on his chin. Speaking of which, you don't seem to have stood up in the afternoon. Could it be that your foot is hurt? Soseki's tone became a little serious. No, no. Kurenai waved her hands again and again, but looking at Soseki's persistent eyes, she couldn't help but be defeated, and whispered, yes, they accidentally stabbed my foot when they pushed me. Quote. Why didn't you say this earlier? Soseki said with a stern face. Come on, I will take you to the hospital now. No, absolutely not. However, Kurenai's attitude is extremely determined this time. Is it because of Hanako and the others? Soseki quickly understood the source of the problem. Kurenai's cheeks bulging and she didn't speak. Okay, I understand. Soseki sighed helplessly, squatted down, and started treating her. I'm sorry to trouble you again. Kurenai didn't have any strange thoughts, but felt that the palm of Soseki's hand that is pressing on her ankle was a little warm, and also, Soseki, who is treating me seriously, is too handsome. It didn't take long for Soseki to complete the treatment. Okay, just stand up and take a few steps to try. Kurenai stood up obediently, and walked cautiously. It's really much more comfortable. That's good, let's go then. I'll take you home. After saying that, Soseki helped carrying Kurenai's school bag. I can carry it myself. The injured should listen to the doctor. Well, by the way, my father is at home today. He is a very powerful genjutsu user shinobi. Kurenai took the initiative to find a topic. Shinku-senpai, I heard from the villagers that his genjutsu is the strongest in Konoha. Soseki said with a looking forward expression. Right? Chapter 17 Successful Mooching. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's light and explore the story behind it. N1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. N2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual pupil taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's Light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/1023819689. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. Sushi, sashimi, tempura. The middle-aged shinobi wearing a scarf nodded with satisfaction while looking at the masterpiece in front of him. Today's love dinner is a really great success. Dad, I'm back. A brisk voice came from the entrance. The middle-aged shinobi's eyebrows twitched happily, and he hurriedly leaned out of the kitchen. Haha, Kurenai, guess what's for tonight? Then, he saw his precious daughter walked in with the help of a boy. Uncle, sorry for bothering you. Shinku didn't have time to worry about Soseki's appearance, as he jumped out wearing an apron in shock. Kurenai, what happened to you? Are you injured? Kurenai hesitated and said, I got into a fight with my classmates. Oh, it's fine then. Hearing this, Shinku was relieved. He knows his daughter's strength very well. If it's just a fight between students, she will definitely not suffer. However, Kurenai's next sentence almost scared him to death. I'm fine, but I accidentally used genjutsu at that time and almost killed one of my classmates. Kurenai said with a little fear. Is your classmate all right? Shinku asked nervously. It's okay, she was rescued by Soseki. Actually, it's not as serious as she said. Hanako, she just passed out. Hearing this, Shinku breathed a sigh of relief. For shinobi, killing is not uncommon, but if they kill people from the same village, they will inevitably receive countless accusations and abuses. It will be hard to bear those kinds of things in the future. Thinking of this, Shinku's gaze towards Soseki softened. Cough, Kurenai, you haven't introduced your friend to me yet. Hearing this, Kurenai raised her small chest proudly. This is our class leader, Shimizu Soseki. He is super awesome. A strange look flashed in Shinku's eyes upon hearing this. Is he the Shimizu Soseki who defeated Hokage-sana's son? For the calm and peaceful Konoha, their battle is already quite a bit of news. Soseki, thank you so much. No, in fact, I want to apologize to you. Apologize? Shinku just felt confused. Why do you say this again? Kurenai puffed up her cheeks. But without caring for Kurenai's interruption, Soseki blamed himself. I have already asked clearly. The reason why Hanako and the others are finding trouble with Kurenai is actually that they found that I often peek at Kurenai during class. Huh? Peeking at me? Kurenai's face was flushed, and for a while, she didn't dare to look at Soseki directly. Shinku's face turned black upon hearing this, and his fondness for Soseki plummeted. He knows that kids in the academy were usually precocious, but his daughter is only 5 years old, this scoundrel perverted beast. I have to use a genjutsu to get this little brat back on track. It seems that he noticed that the expressions of the two were not quite right, so Soseki waved his hands again and again. You may have misunderstood. I peeked at Kurenai because I know that Shinku-senpai is the most powerful genjutsu user shinobi in Konoha, so I wonder if I can learn genjutsu from you through Kurenai. So that's the case. It seems this kid has a good eyesight. Shinku thought quite contentedly. Just when he thought he could breathe a sigh of relief, he found that his precious daughter showed a disappointed expression. This discovery made his heart tighten again. Damn it, could it be that Kurenai is already? Shinku didn't dare to think about it, so he glared at Soseki. You little. Cough cough, didn't I hear that you want to become a medical nin? Why do you want to learn genjutsu from me now? For these kinds of questions, Soseki was naturally prepared. Hearing Shinku's question, his little face showed a serious look at the right time. I just want to become a greater medical shinobi, that's why I want to learn genjutsu from you. At first, I thought that I could use genjutsu to deceive pain so it can help me during surgery, but later, I gradually discovered that pure medical ninjutsu only heal people's physical pain but cannot heal the wounds in their minds. Mental healing is as important as physical healing. Is this Soseki's thoughts? It's really amazing. Kurenai looked at Soseki admiringly, and little stars almost flashing in her eyes. This little brat unexpectedly has such ideals and abilities. No, I can't be moved by him. Shinku was a little moved at first, but after glimpsing the admiration in Kurenai's eyes, his expression immediately turned grim. After pondering for a moment, Shinku nodded slightly, tangled, and said, I can let you learn genjutsu from me, but genjutsu's training is very difficult. You must drop out of the academy and learn genjutsu from me wholeheartedly. Don't worry, you can still become a shinobi even without the experience from the academy. With my guidance, you will definitely gain more being in the academy. The reason he did this is naturally because he wanted to cut off the communication between Soseki and Kurenai. Well, as a child, Kurenai will forget about him after not meeting for a few days. As for his guidance, he just needed to find a free training ground to avoid Kurenai. Shinku thought so happily, and then he suddenly heard Soseki replied, Shinku-senpai, I'm sorry, I can't drop out of the academy. Wait, don't you want to learn genjutsu? Shinku asked hurriedly. Of course I want to learn, but I value my commitment more. I promised to advance and retreat with everyone. How could I be a deserter by myself? Soseki replied firmly. That's right, if I also train genjutsu from you, Dad, doesn't that mean that I also need to drop out? Kurenai on the side said with a puffed face. It's only been so long, but my status is already dropping. Shinku felt aggrieved and said aggrievedly, Kurenai, your talent in genjutsu is the best I have ever seen. Of course you don't need to spend too much time, but his talent in medical ninjutsu may be outstanding, but that does not mean that his talent in genjutsu is also outstanding. If my aptitude is bad, I can just increase my training every night. Shinku-senpai, please give me a chance. Seeing Shinku was still hesitating and tangled, Kurenai can't help but pat her small breasts and said, It's okay, I'll teach you if Dad doesn't teach, Soseki. I'll teach you genjutsu in the future. Upon hearing this, Shinku almost spurted a mouthful of blood and hurriedly said, wait, I didn't say no, Actually, I am worried that he may not learn well and that will damage my reputation. Okay then, when I am not on a mission, I will spare 2 hours every night to teach you, but I want to be your teacher. I understand. Thank you, Shinku-senpai. Soseki's face was filled with excitement, and then he turned to look at the side and said, Kurenai, thank you very much. Do the two of us still need to say such things? Kurenai said happily. Seeing this, Shinku felt as uncomfortable as if he had eaten flies. By the way, Soseki, would you like to stay for dinner with us? Seeing that Shinku's really red face was turning green, Soseki doesn't dare to irritate him too much and refused. No need, I have something to do at the hospital. Okay then, see you tomorrow. Yeah, see you tomorrow. Seeing that his enemy of life finally left, Shinku was relaxed, but before he could breathe a sigh of relief, he heard Kurenai suddenly say, Dad, teach me genjutsu too. Kurenai, are you finally willing to take advantage of your talent? Shinku was overjoyed. He had forced Kurenai too much before, and it aroused Kurenai's rebelliousness. After studying genjutsu for a period of time, she did not want to learn it anymore. Kurenai nodded as if it was a matter of course and said, of course, I don't want to be too far behind Soseki. Shinku was dumbfounded upon hearing this, and his hands covered his chest. Here, it hurts. Ha, the mooching plan finally succeeded. After walking some distance, Soseki took a rare deep breath. In fact, if he just wanted to learn genjutsu from Shinku, there is no need to do such troublesome thing. With the talent he has shown, as long as you have a good relationship with Kurenai, Shinku presumably will not mind accepting a talented disciple. The problem is that, unlike the instructor of the shinobi team, there can only be one official teacher in the shinobi world. If he chooses to become Shinku's disciple, he will lose the possibility of being Tsunade's disciple. However, he is unwilling to give up genjutsu. That's why he came up with such a compromise. Although there were some twists and turns on the way, it was a complete success. Next, I will target Tsunade. Soseki gently spits out one mouthful of turbid air and murmured, however, before that, I still need to train genjutsu wholeheartedly first. Maybe I can use it as a breakthrough. Chapter 18 Genjutsu Training. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's Light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's Light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's Light and explore the story behind it. N1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. N2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual pupil taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's Light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/10238196889. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. At night, a cool breeze blows gently. Two figures, one big and one small, are sitting opposite each other on the lawn by the river. The so-called genjutsu, its essence is a kind of yin release technique, which is a technique that uses chakra to interfere with the other party's 5 senses by mobilizing spiritual energy to make them fall into hallucinations. Although it was still unpleasant for him to see Soseki, Shinku does not hide his own secrets, and he still explained as much as he could when teaching Soseki about genjutsu. In other words, genjutsu can be roughly divided into vision, sense of hearing, sense of smell, taste, sense of touch. Soseki asked while holding his chin in his small hand. Huh? Is there such a thing? Shinku's eyes lit up when he heard this. Shinobi's basic knowledge level is not high. Almost all of them stay at the elementary school level, so that few people do even the simplest addition and division. Indeed, genjutsu used to be said to disturb the 5 senses, but it was more based on vision, sense of hearing and sense of touch. Relatively speaking, there are almost no genjutsu for taste and sense of smell. If it can be developed for these two, maybe it can be used in the next war. And then the other villages. Shinku-senpai, Shinku-senpai. Seeing Shinku plunged into endless fantasy, Soseki had no choice but to call him back. Huh? Shinku woke up and felt a little embarrassed when he saw Soseki looking at him strangely. In order to maintain his dignity, he had to forcefully explain, did you see? The truly powerful genjutsu user shinobi needs to be able to fantasize like me. Soseki didn't expose it, but rather nodded in recognition. Genjutsu is something that doesn't work without imagination. Before I formally instruct you in genjutsu's training, I will teach you how to crack genjutsu. Shinku showed serious expression. Only by understanding genjutsu's weaknesses can you not be targeted by the enemy on the battlefield. There are 2 ways to crack genjutsu. One is to disrupt the flow of chakra in your body by yourself, and the other one is to let others disrupt the flow of chakra in your body. It should be noted that for genjutsu using dojutsu, only the second method works. Therefore, when the enemy is an expert who uses dojutsu to cast genjutsu, you must not face the enemy alone. Shinku said in a desolate tone. Although he is known as Konoha's strongest genjutsu user shinobi, he couldn't reach the height of those dojutsu experts in history throughout his life. Because of this, he was so ecstatic after discovering the Kurenai's talent in genjutsu. He wanted to prove that people's talent and hard work can beat those cheating bloodlines' ability. Soseki didn't care about Shinku's expression, but asked thoughtfully, disrupting the flow of chakra in the body? Isn't that essentially controlling the body? If you can perfectly control the flow of chakra in your own body, doesn't that mean that you will be immune to the first type of genjutsu? Hearing this, Shinku was stunned for a moment, then shook his head with a smile. You are not wrong in understanding it that way, but this kind of thing may only can be done by god of shinobi like Shodem-sama. Soseki was noncommittal, but he secretly thought in his heart, perfectly control the flow of chakra in the body, isn't it 8 gates technique? Soseki is not as enthusiastic in 8 gates technique as some senior. He is very clear about his own strengths, talent, thinking, and learning ability, and these are not very useful for 8 gates technique, who depends on time to improve. It took 20 years to obtain a moment of brilliance, which is not worthwhile for a genius. At least in Soseki's view, he has more ways to gain this level of power. However, this does not mean that Soseki does not value 8 gates technique. What he wanted to get was actually the lower level root of 8 gates technique. For example, constantly opening 2 to 3 gates in the body and use medical ninjutsu to repair the damage caused by opening those gates, and then, the excess chakra overflows after opening those gates can be stored in the yin seal, and even in a critical moment, he can open more gates with the help of creation rebirth. The difficulty in realizing this perpetual motion fantasy is that he has to heal his body at all times. This requires not only extremely high chakra control, but also able to do 2 things at the same time. Apart from this, physical training is also a very important point. The stronger the body, the smaller the damage caused by opening the gate, and the less chakra used to heal his body. Otherwise, the chakra he got from opening the gate may not be enough to heal his body. Shinku didn't know that Soseki was actually thinking about taijutsu in his genjutsu class. After calming himself, Shinku then said, the strength of genjutsu lies mainly in 2 aspects. One is the strength of our spiritual strength, and the other is the authenticity of the illusion. Do you know why those dojutsu experts is better than ordinary person in genjutsu? Soseki retracted his divergent thinking and replied without hesitation, dojutsu doesn't need hand seal, so it is more convenient and concealed than ordinary genjutsu. Shinku nodded in approval and asked again, what else? Soseki pondered for a while, and then asked tentatively, is it the dojutsu can be used as an amplifier to enhance genjutsu's spiritual strength? Amplifier? This statement is interesting. Shinku sighed as he said, us genjutsu user shinobi are struggling to create real illusion one by one, but in the end, it may not be as good as the illusion casually made by the dojutsu experts. The reason is that their spiritual strength is much stronger than us. Quote, Soseki nodded lightly. Indeed, their spiritual strength is so unreasonable. It's like Uchiha Itachi's Tsukuyomi. It clearly builds a completely unreasonable world. It's obvious that the enemy knows that he has been in an illusion right away, but he can't break free. According to Soseki's understanding in his previous life, this is like the common saying in those Shenchia novels, one force can defeat all methods. No matter how shoddy my fantasy is, if your spiritual strength is not up to the standard, you will not be able to break free. But to say that the importance of the authenticity of the illusion is very low, it is not necessarily true. The best proof is the infinite Tsukuyomi, a construct of the real like illusion. The ultimate genjutsu that can pull the whole world into a fantasy world and indulge in it. Thinking of this, Soseki asked, Shinku-senpai, is there no way to improve our spiritual strength? Improve spiritual strength? I have never heard of it, but Shinku first shook his head, and then said hesitantly, it is said that the spiritual strength of legendary Shodem-sama is so strong that he can interfere with reality, but at the beginning, he didn't seem to have this kind of ability. Shodem-sama is someone who has calmed the warring states period. Perhaps the way is to improve your spiritual strength is getting the baptism of war or life and death, understand the faith and strengthen your own power. Soseki nodded thoughtfully. It is precisely because he knows more than Shinku that he valued spiritual strength improvement more. Just like Asura and Indra's spiritual strength that can make their chakra reincarnate for several generations, and the sage of six paths who lives in between life and death in a state of soul, and even be able to pull the souls of the previous cage from the pure land back to this world all by himself. That kind of mental strength is simply powerful to the unimaginable realm. Chakra, spirit, soul. Perhaps, I need a technique that can touch the essence of the soul. Seeing that Soseki was silenced, Shinku thought that Soseki was frustrated because of the limitations of genjutsu. Cough cough. Actually, you don't need to be too frustrated. Just like your personal talent, you must rely on yourself to truly tap on your own potential. Otherwise, how can the title of Konoha's strongest genjutsu user shinobi doesn't fall into those dojutsu clan's hands? Although he didn't believe in those lies given by Shinku, Soseki still pretended to be inspired. I understand, Shinku-senpai. Well, the next step is training the entry-level genjutsu, D-rank genjutsu, demonic illusion, hell viewing technique. The hand seal is snake rat. Come and feel the horror of genjutsu. Chapter 19 Physical Anesthesia. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's light and explore the story behind it. N1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. N2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual pupil taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/1023819689. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. The evening breeze at night was a bit cold, as if it had blown into someone's heart. I must have been caught in a genjutsu. It must be. By the river, Shinku quickly formed hand seal. Ha, kai. Ha, Shinku-senpai, with your spiritual strength, does it take so much trouble to crack my genjutsu? Soseki asked in confusion with his head tilted. I'm not talking about genjutsu. Forget it. The corner of Shinku's mouth twitched slightly, and then he immediately stared at Soseki with scorching eyes and said, your talent on genjutsu is the best I have ever seen. Don't learn medical ninjutsu anymore. Follow me in training genjutsu. Hearing this, Soseki's eyes turned weird. Is this the so-called scumbag embodiment? Obviously yesterday, he was still saying that Kurenai is the one who has the best genjutsu talent he has ever seen, but today, he actually changed it. If my talent in medical ninjutsu is the result of self-harming efforts and learning methods, then my talent in genjutsu is more of a gift from my previous life's experience and soul fusion. Relatively speaking, my talent in genjutsu can really be regarded as the highest genius. It's a pity that what you can give me is too little, Shinku-senpai. Soseki felt regretful in his heart, but he still replied with a firm face on the surface, Shinku-senpai, I'm sorry, but my dream is to become a medical nin like Tsunade-sama. Although it is a bit rude, Soseki really doesn't like Shinku's level of genjutsu. This is also the limitation of genjutsu. This world's top genjutsu experts are almost all from the Uchiha clan. In fact, Shinku's genjutsu is actually the peak that ordinary genjutsu user shinobi can reach. Fortunately, Soseki has made a plan for his future path in genjutsu, but the preconditions for this plan have not been met yet. Alas, what a pity. Although Shinku knew that the more talented a person is, the less likely he is to change his beliefs, he still felt regretful when he heard Soseki rejected him. Medical nin still has experts like Tsunade-sama to support their reputation, but there are only 2 or 3 strong experts in genjutsu. Forget it, that's fine. If I let him learn genjutsu with me wholeheartedly, it might only take him 2 years before he squeezes me dry. Shinku comforted himself, forced a smile and said, come on, let's start the next stage of training. Time slips away like sand between fingers and in a blink of an eye. 2 months has passed. Wait, don't come over. Don't worry, my knife is fast. No, I'm already fine. Let me go. Oh, you want to leave after entering the hospital? Hurry up and hold him down for me. Wait, what are you holding in your hands? This is a good thing that can make you forget your pain. Ha, physical anesthesia. Huh? Why doesn't it work? Again, physical anesthesia. Peef tilde. You can't do like that. If you still don't have a good grasp of your strength, let me do it. No, don't hit me. Please just cut it directly tilde. Since you asked for it, then. Ah tilde oh tilde. Barrier team, quickly set up a sound sealing barrier. Outside the Konoha hospital, listening to the screams coming from the ward one after another, Nono apologized with embarrassment. Tsunade-sama, sorry for making you seem such embarrassment. Tsunade shook her head calmly. I have seen worse scenes than this when I had surgery before. However, what is this physical anesthesia? Don't you know, this matter should have been discussed a month ago. A month ago? Ha, I, the director of Konoha hospital, am really incompetent. Tsunade said with a smile, mocking herself. Tsunade-sama, we all know that you are afraid, Nono said hurriedly, but was interrupted by Tsunade before she could finish. Incompetence means incompetence. There is no need to find a reason for me. Tsunade waved her hand in annoyance. If it weren't for that old man who refused to let me go, you are actually more suitable to be the director than me. Tsunade-sama, Nono didn't know how to answer, and took the initiative to change the subject. Speaking of this physical anesthesia, it was actually opposed by many conservatives at first. Speaking of conservatives, Tsunade was really interested. What happened? Because the essence of this procedure is to make the injured temporarily forget the pain and complete the treatment in peace. Forget the pain? Thinking of the scream that's still lingering in her ears just now, Tsunade's expression became a little strange. However, she could understand why the conservatives would oppose it. In shinobi's guidelines, to endure pain is a virtue, and it is also for training their will. Although they do not advocate that everyone should take the initiative to feel pain, people who even need to be numb for pain are considered absolute shame as a shinobi by those conservatives. By the way, how did the physical anesthesia you just mentioned make the patient forget the pain? Thinking of this, Tsunade asked curiously. Well, Nono right hand scratched her cheek lightly with her index finger, and her eyes are a little erratic. At this time, the door of the ward where the screams came from was pushed open. 2 petite and lovely nurses walked out of it, each holding a thick wooden stick half a person's height in their arms, which formed a sharp contrast with their petite figures, giving people a sense of extreme dissonance. Ha, he was finally anesthetized. It's also a problem to have a good physique. Yes, if it is. Ah, Captain Nono, Tsunade-sama. Tsunade-sama. While speaking, the two hurriedly hid the wooden sticks behind them. Tsunade-sama, this. Nono looked embarrassed. You don't need to say it. I believe I have already understood it all. Looking at the wooden stick sticking out from behind the two, the corner of Tsunade's twitched. Cough cough, actually. We all pay attention to the strength we use, and our shinobi's physique is very good. You see, that shinobi needed to be anesthetized for so long before fainting. Nono explained with a lack of confidence. I didn't mean to blame you. Tsunade shook her head, with some memories in her eyes. If it was me in the past, I might have been angry with your, imagination. Nono adjusted her glasses and remained silent. I heard that Tsunade-sama used to have the title of Demon King before, but now. By the way, who proposed this procedure? If it weren't for the fact that Jiraiya is not in Konoha right now, I would have thought it was his doing. It was Soseki-kun's proposal. He is the most popular little genius in our Konoha hospital. Shimizu Soseki? Tsunade asked in surprise as she raised her brows slightly. Tsunade-sama, do you also know Soseki? Nono was taken aback for a moment and then reacted. Oh, is it because of the battle between Soseki and Hokage-sama's son? Haha, it's more than that. Tsunade laughed meaningfully. That girl Shizune has mentioned him to me more than once, about how stable and reliable their class leader is, but now it seems. Shizune? Soseki's classmate? Nono did not think much, and then praised Soseki. Soseki-kun is of course very reliable. He only becomes a bit aggressive when it comes to patients. This is a compromise solution Soseki-kun offered us. A compromise? Well, at the beginning, Soseki is proposing to add Genjutsu department, allowing the patients to complete the operation while immersed in Genjutsu. He even proposed to expand the scope of the Genjutsu department beyond surgery, such as soothing the mind, driving away worries and troubles in the patient's minds, and cure the mental pain. It's a pity that the general Genjutsu user shinobi can't do this step at all. Cure the mental pain? Tsunade pursed her lips and sighed. This idea is indeed very beautiful, but the requirements for such illusion immersion are somewhat high. Nono nodded helplessly. If the patient's immersion in Genjutsu is not high enough, the huge amount of pain from surgery will directly pull the patient out of the illusion. Moreover, few Genjutsu can last as long as an operation. Relatively speaking, physical anesthesia is more feasible to implement. At this moment, there was a commotion from the depths of the corridor. Chapter 20 Absurd Illusion. Published by web novel. Naruto, Konoha's Light. Mooching a 5-year-old girl, beating up a 100-year-old man, deceiving a poor disabled person, and cheating an ignorant dutiful son. However, such a vicious man is known as Konoha's Light. One is the king of the world, the greatest shinobi in the history of the shinobi world. Is it the case of decline of morality, or is it the twist of human nature? Let's walk into Konoha's Light and explore the story behind it. N1. The plot will not change too much in the early stage, and the plot will run wild in the middle stage. N2. The protagonist won't be playing the usual people taking. Disclaimer. This is just a translated version of the Chinese web novel. I am not the author of the novel Naruto, Konoha's Light. I am just translating the story. You can read the original work here. https://book.kidian.com/info/10238196889. Support me at https://www.patreon.com/common translation. There are advanced chapters there. No, absolutely not. However, if she moves during the operation and affects the operation, it may cause irreparable consequences. That's not okay either. In that case, we have no choice. On the corridor, a middle-aged woman and several nurses were arguing fiercely. Can you tell me what happened here? A cold voice came from the side, and the young nurses turned around to look, and let out a cheerful exclamation. Tsunade-sama. Hearing these nurses call the legendary medical nin, the middle-aged woman was shocked at first, but she then quickly rushed forward desperately. Tsunade-sama, please save my daughter. Calm down. Tsunade asked a few nurses while soothing the other middle-aged woman. What the hell is going on? Actually, this woman's daughter needs to be operated. However, she is still too young. If she doesn't get anesthesia, it may affect the operation, the nurse said while looking at the little girl in the ward with helplessness and pity. Tsunade followed her gaze to the ward on the side, and saw a 2 or 3 years old little girl sitting on a chair with tears in her eyes. Beside her, an older boy was looking after and comforting her. Tsunade didn't think much about it, and said solemnly, if we can't find a way to control her body, it would be really dangerous to perform the operation rashly. The nurse nodded and said, we are also worried about this, that's why we wanted to give her anesthesia. Hearing this, the middle-aged woman was furious. Anesthesia? What you are doing is basically a murder. The nurse looked sullen and said, actually, we also have a small. Seeing the murderous gaze from the middle-aged woman, the nurse did not continue. I can use chakra scalpel to temporarily cut off her pain nerves. However, she is still too young, so it's possible that it will affect her future life. Tsunade muttered seriously, and suddenly remembered Nano's previous suggestion. Have you tried Genjutsu? I have tried it, but the little girl woke up soon after. The nurse said helplessly, also, those shinobi in the village who are proficient in Genjutsu are also out on missions right now. Tsunade shook her head slightly. She knows that most of the shinobi who are proficient in Genjutsu mentioned by this nurse did not include that clan. After all, that clan's arrogance is notorious, and coupled with their position as the military police force, the majority of people in the village stay away from them. Uchiha clan. Tsunade hesitated. She didn't actually have much intersection with this clan. However, her status as the princess of the Senju clan might arouse that clan's hostility. At this moment, a small figure standing at the door broke everyone's contemplation. Actually, Anko is now ready for surgery. Soseki, what do you mean? Hearing this, Nano's eyes lit up. She knew better than others about the training and attempts that Soseki had made in the past 2 months. He is Shimizu Soseki? Tsunade realized that the little boy in the ward was not the little girl's brother. Soseki nodded his head and said, I have already applied a Genjutsu to Anko, and it should be possible to perform the operation on her now. Without waiting for everyone around to question him, Nono stepped into the ward first, and looked at the sweet and soundly sleeping little girl, and carefully put her right hand on her body. Soon, Nono walked out with a smile on her face. Tsunade-sama, please take a look. Seeing this situation, unbelievable thoughts flashed in the minds of the several young nurses. Is it really successful? That is something that even Chunin can't do. This is not to say that Chunin's Genjutsu can't even deal with a little girl. As mentioned in the previous paragraphs, the little girl woke up too quickly. Because the general Genjutsu only needs to confuse the enemy for a few seconds to end the battle, most Genjutsu will not deliberately pursue the duration of Genjutsu, and Genjutsu's immersion is also a problem. Finally, the Chunin mentioned here is not necessarily someone specialized in Genjutsu. Just like a mathematics professor couldn't solve language problem, that Chunin may not be as good as Genjutsu user Genin. The middle-aged woman looked at Tsunade with anticipation. Tsunade-sama. Tsunade walked into the ward and saw the little girl sleeping soundly. Seeing this, there was a hint of surprise in her eyes. It is indeed successful, but I have to try it again. After saying that, Tsunade moved her right hand abruptly. Boom. The sound of the air being squeezed caused everyone to shrink their shoulders instinctively. However, the little girl on the chair just licked her lips, and her breathing was not disturbed. This level of immersion, did he build a complete and true world? Tsunade sighed in her heart. Looking at Soseki, she said with a complicated tone, perhaps, being a Genjutsu user shinobi will be more suitable for you. Whether it is medical ninjutsu or Genjutsu, as long as it is a technique that can help everyone, I will try my best to learn it. Soseki clenched his fist like Tsunade and said firmly. After saying that, he changed the subject again. However, this illusion does not actually need much realism. Why do you say that? Tsunade asked with interest. Because we are children. Why would children care even if the world is unreal? Soseki said as if it was a matter of course. Tsunade was slightly surprised upon hearing this. That's kind of true. For children, the absurd world may be more in line with their fantasy. Soseki then continued, also, I just chatted with Enko for a long time, and I know what she is longing for in her heart. Is it a family member or a friend? Tsunade asked softly. Soseki shook his head and said, no, in fact, Enko's dream is very simple. She just wants to eat red bean paste again. Because sweets can make people happy, that's why I gave her that name. Enko's mother said a little embarrassedly while supporting her somewhat fat waist, it's just that the price of goods after the war is too high. Enko means red bean paste. Therefore, I deliberately designed an illusion for her where the whole world is red bean paste. Soseki opened his arms, as if portraying the red bean paste world seriously. That kind of illusion is so simple. Tsunade couldn't help but laugh, and then sighed, but it's such a simple illusion that no one can even think of it. Little guy, you were really good. Soseki said with some, sorry, I just listen and understand more than the others. Tsunade muttered, as if asking, listen, understand? Soseki nodded vigorously, I believe that doctors not only need to treat physical pain, mental pain and confusion, but also need to guide and comfort the patient. Only by listening to and understanding their true feelings can we find the most suitable treatment for the patient. Learn to listen and understand the patient's true feelings? Tsunade was touched and looked towards Soseki with serious gaze for the first time. He is better than other medical men, not only in talent and hard work, but also in his attitude and responsibility as a medical man.